Well, the Cavaliers looking for back-to-back wins against Orlando last night at Rocket Arena. Donovan Mitchell making sure the Cavs got the little sweep.
Mitchell had it knocked away momentarily. He steadied himself. He put it up and in and drew the foul. Donovan Mitchell's dominance continued.
The curse of the NBA on Peacock. Good guys take it. 114-98. Mitchell 45 points on 15 of 25 shooting. Cavs win their fourth in a row overall. Evan Mobley helped out. He put in 20 points. Cavs guard Jalen Tyson selected to partake in the Rising Stars competition at All-Star Weekend in Los Angeles. The games will take place Friday, February 13th. Browns had their second interview with Rams pass game coordinator Nate Shieldhouse on Monday in L.A. Shieldhouse may be one of the finalists for the Browns job, but also did a little more looking afterwards. Last night, he had an interview with the Buffalo Bills about their head coach opening. Mary Kay Cabot at Cleveland.com reports Browns defense coordinator Jim Schwartz seems to be gaining momentum when it comes to maybe being the guy who will be the Browns' next head coach. Shieldhouse and Todd Monken believe to be the others still in the mix. There's a chance the Browns could actually make a final decision at some point today. Don't miss the 92.3 The Fan off-season special tonight from 7 to 9. Get the latest on the Browns right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time with the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m.
Tonight we're gonna take no prisoners.
The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Mitchell had it knocked away momentarily. He steadied himself. He put it up and in and drew the foul. Donovan Mitchell's dominance continued. Rebounded by Mobley. Out cruises Mitchell. Mitchell around Black. Mitchell reverses and scores. And the Orlando Magic simply have no answer. Well, the Cavaliers are set to complete the home-and-home sweep of the Magic with a workmanlike performance here in Cleveland as they knock off Orlando by the final of 114-98.
We're getting gritty wins. It's not last year, right, where it's maybe pretty and balls flying around and we're hitting threes. This is a different team. We got to kind of win a different way. You know, just right off these last 5 or 6 games, probably 2 or 3 of them, like we're just grit. You know, not beautiful basketball by any means, but we'll take it. It's kind of where we are.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of Peacock, and if it were any other day, we'd be talking about flipping the switch for the Cleveland Cavaliers. However, there's a lot of breaking news last night about the Cleveland Browns. So tomorrow, the Lakers come to town. We have Cavs tickets coming up at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock today. You can win Cavs tickets coming up at 8 o'clock today to go see the Lakers, maybe LeBron's last time in town. So, Tone, do you have any thoughts about that last night before we get going with all this? Because this is big stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of figured out how to play with all the bodies missing that they have not had available. And so they've kind of just figured out the most efficient way for them to play. And a lot of that is Donovan Mitchell just kind of taking over. And then other guys actually hitting shots when they need him to hit. They've been defending. They've been able to do all this without Darius Garland. I mean, this is pretty crazy that their best stretch of the season, it was without Darius.
And already I'm seeing some of my Facebook friends saying that Darius Garland needs to be traded. We will discuss that coming up at about last night at 7:45. However, last night, speaking of last night, Jake Volnick announced this on The Fan. This was Mary Kay's tweet, 9:21 last night, where she says, quote, "One league source tells me tonight that defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz seems to be gaining momentum in the Browns head coach search. Stay tuned." Diana Rossini put out at 9:40 this morning, or 9:40 last night, I should say, not this morning. Diana Rossini posted last night at 9:40, the Cleveland Browns are currently flying back from Los Angeles to Cleveland. Discussions are ongoing with the expectation the group will meet tomorrow morning to make final decisions. So this is where we're at, and it makes it difficult because when this all started, I really thought that Jim Schwartz might be a decision that would not offend Browns fans, and now it feels like it would be an offensive decision for Browns fans. Am I wrong?
What changed? How did people get on the Udinsky Shieldhouse bandwagon?
When there's clearly a lot of conversation with Udinsky, it's a multitude of things. It's guys pulling their names out, a 30-year-old pulling his name out, whether or not that is consequential or not, it still is something that looks bad to Browns fans that are not trusting of the Browns. So when you have guys pull their names out, it's not going to be a great look. And then when you fly to L.A. after the NFC Championship game, and it did it, you were not wrong. I mean, we were not wrong. It was back on January 6th, that Tuesday, we were getting texts about Nate Shieldhouse. So it's like, okay, he's definitely one of their first thoughts. Hell or high water, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, he's definitely one of the first people that they were thinking about when they fired Kevin. If a guy who you seemingly really wanted doesn't want to be here, or the Bills seem to just be following us around. I don't know what's going on. It's like the third guy that the Bills afterwards have been wanting to interview after we interviewed him. Either way, when the Bills are involved, or that he wants to talk to the Bills, or there's this conversation about whether or not that he has to keep Jim Schwartz, it seems to muddy everything up, and it's starting to feel very Mike Pettin-esque. And I think Mike Pettin got railroaded by Johnny Manziel in that whole rigmarole that happened. I thought he was a better coach than what we give him credit for, but he was overmatched by all the nastiness that went on. But if I go back to that memory, was that or was that not the Chip Kelly year where they went on the plane and hung out with Chip Kelly for 11 hours, and then he was just like, thanks for the dinner, I'm going to Philly?
What was the Harbaugh
It feels very odd. I don't know. They all mix together. I'm literally asking the question. They all mix together. So I'm not trying to make a point there. I'm asking, was it the same year? I thought 2014. I think it was. Want to say it was.
That was the Pettin year.
Yes. And then it became all this. So there's a lot of distrust here. Now,
but I understand that. Why was there trust that going after Shieldhouse was the right move? Somebody as inexperienced as him. Why did that have trust?
Because I think fans, I don't think they're very trusting him in the first place. I think fans want the organization to get the guy that they wanted. That's what I think they want. And when they don't get that, and when you hear some of the stories about, well, now Jim Schwartz, they insist that Jim Schwartz is a part of this. They're, quote-unquote, forcing Jim Schwartz on anybody. Jim Schwartz is a hell of a defensive coordinator. But it doesn't feel very good to Brown. I might be wrong. 216-474-0092. I know it's freezing outside. But I may very well be wrong. You feel differently.
I was seeing a lot of the outrage by people because it was in Shieldhouse. And I'm like, how did we get in a situation where the guy who's only been in the NFL for 2 years, never played in the NFL, has spent, the only guy I can find that had less relevant NFL / even major college experience. The only guy I can find that got a head coaching job in the NFL was Lane Kiffin. And you can at least make the argument he grew up in NFL locker rooms. Like, he had been around it his whole life, still was totally inexperienced, and you saw what happened. That's the only guy. I mean, I went.
Nate Shieldhouse's grandfather was head coach of the Jets in the 70s. I made that up. Damn it. I tried to do it as bad.
I was going to look it up. I'm like, I didn't see that.
It's like he wouldn't have grown up. He wasn't born.
But I can't find a guy with less relevant experience than Shieldhouse, which I told you I was going to be open-minded no matter what. Any of these guys, I was going to be totally open-minded into anybody, because the Browns were always, and I didn't think this was like a stern warning to Browns fans when they fired Kevin, because I'd been talking about firing Kevin for 2 years. It just I thought you could tell that it had run its course. Whatever. That's beside the point. He's gone. But the day that he was going to get fired, whether it was last year or this year, the Browns' eligible pool of candidates was going to be different from most teams. I get that the Bills are looking at a lot of the same guys.
It's very odd.
It is very odd. I'd be furious if I were a Bills fan, and I think I'm kind of seeing that with the Bills fans. This was going to be a different search than, say, the Ravens, even though there was some overlap, or obviously the Steelers, or whatever. Like, all these teams, Harbaugh going to the Giants. There was going to be a unique search here always when they retained Andrew Berry, and I was gonna sit there and at least keep an open mind. I said that from day one. If they would have hired Shieldhouse, I would have been like, all right, they're not the only team to believe in him, but they are the only team to believe in him to this level at this stage. Now, do you think he's, like, if he doesn't get hired by Buffalo, like, do you think he could become the OC with the Rams? Do you think that
well, the story's out that Jeremy Fowler had we got text about this yesterday afternoon. Jeremy Fowler then had it that Mike LaFleur might take that Cardinals
current
job.
OC.
Yeah, that's the current OC, not Matt. That's his brother, Mike. Mike LaFleur may take the head coaching job for the Cardinals. That's their current OC, and they would bump Nate Shieldhouse up to the OC at the LA Rams.
And then you have to ask yourself, what's a better job for Shieldhouse right now at 35 with so little experience? Is it OC for the Rams under McVay and continuing to hone those skills and then become maybe a Ben Johnson where you're the guy in the next hiring cycle? Or is it taking the Browns job where it doesn't currently look like they have a leader in the clubhouse to be the starting quarterback next year?
Well, God, if you're Mike LaFleur, do you want to be the offensive coordinator for another year with the LA? I know we're not talking about him. You asked me about Nate Shieldhouse, but my mind goes, why does he want the Cardinals job? I feel that our job is the same rung as the Cardinals job. Not great, but not about the same level. I mean, they got a quarterback they don't want to play. They have to pay. Hello. A lot of it seems to be the same way. But to answer your question, I just go to this. I think that it would be comforting to some level that you get a guy that they want, just for the simple fact is you could hold their feet to the fire even more. Like, you could look at all this instead of getting down to, all right, we'll just go to who will take it, which means Jim Schwartz. I think that's what it's turned to a lot of fans. Please correct me if I'm wrong. That's just how I'm feeling with what I've been texted by friends and what I've seen sent to me in emails over the last 24 hours.
Which is interesting because when the season ended, Jim Schwartz had a lot of people in his corner.
Yes.
So why did those people leave his corner?
Because when you hear about, I think people like youth, I think people like offense, and I think people, and again, this feels to me like this was a guy they had always honed in on. And I think Browns fans want that their team, even though that there are problems with it, I think a lot of Browns fans want their team to feel wanted by a young guy. And so if he were to pick the Browns, I think a lot of Browns fans might be excited, but it's also a fact of, hey, if this doesn't go well, Andrew, you got the guy you wanted. So I can hold your feet to the fire and go, of all the possibilities that you could have had, you got this guy, and now he can't coach himself out of a paper bag. What exactly do you do here? So it's almost a way to hold people more accountable, which accountability has been the biggest issue here over the last 3 years, with it 4 years over this football team, has been who's in charge of what, who can you blame for what, a lot of blame going on because things haven't been good. So I think that it's on that. They would not be having a parade down Euclid for Nate Shieldhouse, down Euclid behind me. They wouldn't be having a parade for him. But I think it would be either A, hey, young offensive guy, let's see where it goes, and B, you wanted him, you got him, let's see where it goes now. I think it would be that way, other than, all right, Shieldhouse turned us down, and the other young guy turned us down, and Harbaugh won't even talk to us, and all these other different names that we have no chance of getting, and here's Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
And now it feels like Jim Schwartz is this afterthought.
Sure.
When I thought, obviously, we all think he's a pretty good coach.
And by the way, he is somebody who I think would hold guys accountable. Like, I don't think Jim Schwartz would have any problem doing that.
He may very well be a good coach.
He's just not an offensive coach. And so many, I think if you were to poll the average football fan, even despite the fact that defenses have totally dominated the offenses throughout the playoffs so far this year, there's definitely been defenses first over the offenses.
And that's another thing. I'm sorry to cut you off. But it's like, okay, if you get your offensive guy in Shieldhouse, like, yeah, you got to bring in another offensive coordinator because he's not called plays in the NFL. Who would be your offensive coordinator? Okay, well, they did interview Anthony Lynn yesterday, or 2 days ago, 3 days ago now. So you did interview Anthony Lynn. I think somebody else is getting the commander's job, if I'm not mistaken, as OC. I think that happened yesterday. So now you have a possibility with him. There's other names that are going to be out there as well. I might look at one of the guys on the Indianapolis staff, but that's just me trying to put history together there. But I don't know if people will be very excited about that. So maybe Anthony Lynn might be a little bit more comforting to people. But it's like, all right, I got my offensive guy. I already know my defensive guy. Let's get this thing figured out and let's get this thing moving. Instead, it's going to be, okay, Jim Schwartz. Is Jim going to be the head coach and call the defense? And then what are we going to do in the offense that's one of the worst in the NFL? That's one of the three worst offenses in all the NFL for the last 2 years.
I totally get that. And if you were just going to be offensive only, then you're irate if they end up hiring Schwartz. If you're against retreads, you're irate, hiring Schwartz. I just never saw why, especially with Andrew Berry's approval rating the lowest it's been on a lot of things. It's still very low. I know he had a good draft. Every time I talk to people, they cannot believe he still has his job. Why they would trust Andrew Berry in that he really wanted this young, inexperienced coach who's never been an offensive coordinator. He's never called plays. He's had very little he hasn't had that much college experience either. Like, why they trusted that hire, and they're going to lose their mind if they don't get that guy. I just don't understand that.
I understand.
It's weird to me to get irate about a guy that it's not like we got Shieldhouse calls all season going, we pinpointed the guy that needs to be the next head coach of the Browns. So it's almost like a toddler that didn't get a toy until Christmas Day, and 5 days later, if you take that toy away, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
No, I think it's like
you never even knew who this guy was to begin with. How could you possibly get irate about it?
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's about. I mean, it's not about a toddler being upset. It's that you want to trust your football team,
but they don't. And
they don't.
And so why are they trusting their pursuit of that guy? Is what I don't get.
Because it's something that they could still hold them accountable for. Even if you don't trust it, again, I'll say it again, you could look at it as a fan and go, I don't trust this, and I hope I'm wrong, or I don't trust this. This was another disaster, another huge embarrassing failure, and you wanted it. You wanted it. The people you put in charge, they wanted it. It's on you. I think that's what they're talking about here. And it would be comforting. I mean, we got to be honest. It would be comforting, even though you might scratch your head, that your football team hones in on the guy that they wanted originally and actually gets that guy. When, again, all these other names are saying, no, thanks, but no thanks. You guys got great history, but I'm going to go to the Giants, or I'm going to take a year off.
But isn't that where you would lose your trust already? Like, that to me, I already lost the trust in the coaching search. Guys are pulling out. You're trying to pair up a defensive coordinator with all these head coaches.
They trust him. I say they want to trust him. They don't trust him right now. They're 8-26 over the last 2 years. They kept Andrew Berry, exactly what you just said, exactly what you just laid out. But that's where we're at right now. A lot of it doesn't make sense. And we're still waiting here 3 weeks after, 19 days, 20 days, 21? We 21 days into this?
I'm just saying,
that's where they're at.
Had they have locked Nate Shieldhouse, I love when people were saying that yesterday. Everybody gets real territorial on these things. And, if it were me, I'd just throw a lot of money and lock them in and not let them leave the building. As if these guys, don't have agents, don't have free will to be able to choose for themselves, believe it or not. I saw that a bunch yesterday, that the Browns, if they let them get out the building, yeah, that they're humans and they get to make their own decisions, and the Browns are not the best job. So why would they? Like, some guys
are in LA, it wasn't their building. Some
guys are choosing offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. Some guys would rather do that than go coach the Browns. I like that. That's just a reality that I thought most Browns fans understood.
They do. They don't want to accept it. They know it. They don't want to accept it. That's not a hard concept to understand. That's not a hard concept.
I'm saying then they're just delusional. And if they're going to be delusional in this,
sports.
You're most likely going to be upset with whatever process and whatever. And if it ends up being Nate Shieldhouse today, maybe he decides after either talking to Buffalo or whatever, he's going to be the next coach. Great. I didn't earn any trust in the Browns in that process. If you did, then we have different bars.
Nobody. I think the fans are understanding what I'm saying. I think you're being quite literal about this. 216-474-0092. Well, would you be upset if it were Jim Schwartz? It doesn't have to be Shieldhouse at this point. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Stay here. We could have breaking news at any moment this morning about the Cleveland Browns coaching search on The Fan.
92.3
washes from $24. Go to BlueFallsCarWash.com. Blue Falls
Car Wash. Route 8 north from Graham to 271 is clear of accidents, as well as 71 north from Weymouth to Fulton. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Whenever you need to talk about the Browns, we got you covered. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Zack Jackson going to join us 9 o'clock from The Athletic. I'm sure he's just going to be a barrel of laughs. Also about last night coming up at 7:45, go over that Cavs win. And maybe whether or not we need to flip the switch tomorrow night if the Cavs beat the LA Lakers, where you can get tickets to that coming up at 8 o'clock. Cavs-Lakers tickets. Folks, we could have breaking Browns coaching news. It could happen anytime. 92.3 The Fan, 92.3thefan.com. YouTube Live. It's already going crazy. Follow 92.3 The Fan. It's absolutely free on YouTube. I want to kind of let you take it away here. You seem to be just perplexed by me. Like, you can't believe that I'm interpreting what fans, and I got people saying, Ken, you nailed it. And so I'm interpreting how fans are seeing this. I've been wrong before. There's millions of Browns fans. That means there's millions of different feelings. But you are shocked that anybody would be at all upset about how this is playing out here over the last 24 hours.
No, I'm sorry. I'll clarify. That's not what I'm saying. People can get upset. They were always – we said this at the moment they fired Stefanski, like, you're going to be upset with the coaching search. Like, this is not going to be a coaching search with a bunch of ready-made names of guys that, you know, we're going to pounce on, and guys are going to be proud to be the next coach of the Cleveland Browns. Like, that was never going to happen.
So where's the impasse?
Harbaugh stuff was fun to talk about, but obviously we knew that was never going to happen. He was never going to come here. What I'm saying is I'm kind of surprised people could possibly be irate over not getting Nate Scheelhaus. That, to me, will never register. I told you, I've looked up so many names over the past 24 hours, and outside of Lane Kiffin, who, again, his dad was a long-time coach in the NFL, I can't find a serious coaching candidate that has less relevant experience. Doesn't mean he can't be a good head coach. We've seen guys come out of all sorts of different places to be really good head coaches in the NFL. I just can't get mad about it. I can't get mad that we didn't get the guy that has only been in the NFL 2 years and has never really had like this big time catalog of experience. Even like there have been guys that like Urban Meyer, right, had been, but at least he had been a head coach, had been at the top of a program. Nate Scheelhaus hasn't done that. And again, doesn't mean he can't be a good head coach. I'm just not going to get mad. I'm not going to lose my mind and throw a temper tantrum that if they don't end up getting him.
You know, I want to get mad at you for that, but I understand. Because
like even Freddie Kitchens had more NFL experience.
Let me explain
than
this.
Nate Scheelhaus.
So,
which doesn't mean that he was going to be a better head coach than Nate Scheelhaus. Again, I think people are understanding what I'm saying.
I'm going to write something to Owen in the chat before I invoke him. I think I understand where you're coming from. Because in 2 years, like if Nate Scheelhaus just stays as the OC for the Rams, I mean, he might look really good. I mean, because Mike LaFleur could get the Cardinals job. And do I want to be the guy who was screaming at you over Nate Scheelhaus in 2 years? You know what I mean?
That kind of seems silly.
Yeah.
That anybody would be.
But I again, I think they want to yell at the Browns. And they don't want things to continue to be. And we hear like, oh gosh, the owners are meddling, and you and I, you know, we get accused of carrying water, and I understand who we are the flagship home. I get that, and I was looking at it and go, guys, like Terry Pagula was known as a great owner until what 2 weeks ago, and then he gave the press conference. Bob Kraft's known as a great owner today. Go ask Patriots fans what they thought of Bob Kraft last December. These things all change. It's really just best on your record. And so we get into the meddling and things like that. And I think they just want some stability, even if the stability ain't a great idea. Even if it's not a great idea, it's that, okay, you guys are supposed to be the football guys. And I want to be able to turn around. And you know I hate using this term. You guys can be the smartest man in the room, and then I can accuse you of it if you guys suck up the room and this thing is bad. I can accuse you guys of zigging when everybody else zags. I can accuse you of that. So it's still something that you wanted, you got. If it goes well, great. We got smart people in charge. If it goes poorly, I can blame it on you. Instead of this being out of our control. Like we just have to scramble to find a head coach. People scramble to find help at like Streetsboro, Parks and Rec for the summertime. We scramble to find help in different bus drivers and things like that for school systems. You shouldn't scramble to find an NFL head coach. And that's how people feel about it. So I get my first inclination is to get loud and scream at you over what you feel. I'm not. Because in 2 years, I could sit here and go, can't believe I sat here and screamed at your face off about Nate Shieldhouse. But that's, I think, how people feel.
Part of it was, and I think now there's been enough reporting on this, and I think it's pretty obvious, that the Browns were putting certain terms in their coaching search with candidates that candidates were already coming into interviews with the Browns going, okay, fine, I'll take the interview. Not my ideal landing spot, but, it's a good opportunity. Let's see. They've got Myles Garrett. They've got Denzel Ward. Maybe they like Shador. Maybe that's it. Or Dylan Gabriel. I can't imagine that. But, by the way, the draft capital. Like, that could be something that could be intoxicating for a candidate. But the minute they put any kind of terms on the search for a candidate, meaning, hey, we really would like to have you work with maybe Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator. And it's like, man, I kind of had my own ideas about this. And I think I could do some things. And the coaching staff I could align myself with could do some interesting things with Myles Garrett and this defense. And, you guys did give up, a fourth quarter drive to Carson Wentz. Here's maybe where we could have stepped in. I'm just saying hypothetically, like it's tough to impose anything like that when your team's won 9 games over the last 2 years, and you're the Cleveland Browns, hate to say it, but, there is a stigma attached to certain teams. The Browns are certainly one of those teams that have that stigma, and I do think candidates have their own questions for the Haslams and for how things have been done here, and for Andrew Berry, that their agents and maybe their brethren around the NFL are like, hey, if you do get a chance to interview with the Browns, I'm not saying don't take the job, but you've got to hold them accountable for this too, for things we've been hearing. Like, that is a part of interview process. This is not a one-way thing, even for young and experienced coaches, because they are warned about certain places in Cleveland. I hate to say it. It's got to be on that list of, hey, just be careful. Just be careful you don't doom your career by taking a job before you're ready and with that particular organization.
See, I would say different. I think saying a fun thing to admit, I think the Browns coaching job is kind of like the Jets coaching job. I think if it's your first job, you can get that stink off you eventually. You go and you're a coordinator again, or you just go on to being a head coach the way Kevin Stefanski did. But I think that the Browns and Jets are seen in the same way that, you were a head coach, and I know it didn't go well, but you're the head coach of the Jets. So when you're the head, like Robert Saleh was the head coach of the Jets, and it went very badly for the Jets. I know they had like one decent kind of year, but it went very badly with them, and people were like, he's the head coach of the Jets, no big deal, send him over to Tennessee. Like, that, I think, is kind of what happens. But you don't want to get any stink on your name if you got a better opportunity to do it. But let me
just don't want to become Freddie Kitchens. You don't want to become Chud. You don't want to make it where this is the situation. Even Mike Pettin. Yeah. I mean, Mike was able to kind of work his way back up, but it's sometimes hard.
I want to get to the phones here, but I want to bring in Owen because I didn't mean to set him up wrong, but he gave me permission here. Like you said, your own wife, Owen, had said something about Grant Udinski.
Yeah, yesterday. She came home yesterday and was just like, I'm a little disappointed that the young guy from Jacksonville didn't take the job or pulled his name out of contention.
Yeah,
and I go, why? And she was like, well, he's young. At least it's like a try at something fresh and new.
See, I think a lot of people think that way. I do think we have some hardcore Browns fans who listen to us. I think we have a lot of Browns fans who might listen to us, or sports fans who might listen to us as background noise and entertainment, and they just want the Browns to win, and they want the Browns to be exciting. Youth and 30, 35-year-old men are exciting for Browns fans. Offensive, young guys are exciting for Browns fans.
For which demographics of Browns fans? Do you think it matters per age?
The general population.
Ooh, I think there's a big split per age.
There might be. But it's also like, if you hire Nate Shieldhouse, right, and things didn't go well, he'd have to go out in public and make an idiot of himself somewhere to get himself fired. He'd have to be kind of like Freddie, where it's like, hey, this is not organized. This is really bad. You got to go. I don't think he'd be that way. I don't think that Grant Udinski would be there. I can't imagine they would be. I don't know these guys. I only met you and I shook Nate Shieldhouse's hand one time back in 2021. So it is like we know the guy very well. However, I think it would have to be a bad situation. You could get Jim Schwartz at 59 years old. This season could go belly up in 2026, which, I mean, it looks like it could. And they could go, yeah, now Andrew's out. And you know what? Jim's out too. And we could be going through all this again. I don't think people want to go through this all the time.
You don't think that would... Hold on.
It's a favorite thing to do when the team's losing is to want to fire the head coach. But I think when we're in the middle of the coaching search, I think people are done and they want to move on and they don't want to do this again.
Yeah, I guess I disagree because I think if they went 4-13 next year, I think both are getting bounced, no matter who it is. I think if it was Shieldhouse,
I don't.
They'd be like, oh, yeah, he's in over his head.
I don't.
You don't think 4-13 he would look in over his head? I think a young head coach, I think that would get off the rails, especially with Myles Garrett. Can you imagine the public statements of Myles Garrett during a 4-13 year when you hired a coach who had that little experience? I think that would go off the rails. I think that would look really bad, and there'd probably be a house cleaning because the guy who led the coaching search to 4-13 after 9 and whatever the previous 2 years.
You might be
I think
right
everybody's
about that.
out of a job.
You might very well be right about
are
that.
Out of a job.
That's why some of these guys might be pulling their names. So I can't say you're 100% wrong on that, but I think you'd have a lot better chance of people understanding with a 30-year-old or 35-year-old than you would with a 60-year-old. 216-474-0092. All right, I want to get to the phones next. I want to ask you guys, would you be upset with Jim Schwartz? Does it have to be Shieldhouse now? Because you and I know, like, they were definitely honing in on him. If it happened in January, early January, then it had to have probably been an idea before the season. So he seemed to be their first guy. 216-474-0092. You guys coming up. And remember, your chance, tell me if I'm wrong, by the way, or if Lima's right or vice versa. Your chance to win Cavs-Lakers tickets, 8 o'clock on the Fan. Northeast Factory Direct. Now, this is your chance to take advantage.
family. Apply today at callplumbingtech.com.
Catch the Fan Offseason Special every Tuesday from 7 till 9 p.m. right here and on the 92.3 The Fan YouTube channel. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Lakers tickets, 8 o'clock. You can go see LeBron maybe the last time in Cleveland. It's like the Rolling Stones. Like every year, it's like, this could be the last time. Well, it might very well be the last time. I mean, you can play music for a long time. I don't know how you can play in the NBA for 60 years. Also, breaking Browns news at any time. Make sure you're listening to 923thefan.com. All right, I want to know, does it have to be Shieldhouse? Because, again, my first reaction, you saw it in my eyes. I was ready to let you have. And I went, wait a minute. Do I want to, in 2 years, be the guy who's screaming at you over Nate Shieldhouse, of all people? Why? No offense to him. He might be a good offensive mind. He might be the next Bill Walsh, for all I know. But the only reason I would be upset with you, because you're like, hey, they did get him. They didn't get him. No big loss if they didn't get him. And I think it's like, hey, they wanted a guy, they got a guy. Maybe this. I just think fans, I really do, but I'm not going to yell at you over, at least not yet. We'll find out later. I think fans just want to feel like it's not going off the rails. That even if it's not a good plan, it's still their plan. It's not something that's forced upon us by the fate of being a Browns fan, which is a extremely low bar, but here we are.
I know we got to get to the phones. I know that when some of the reports came out that the Browns were really impressing upon some of the candidates about, hey, Jim Schwartz and the staff and a lot of those things, I think that what I had seen was fans like, God, yeah, we can't lose Jim Schwartz. Like, he's coordinating one of the best units. Mike Tomlin called it the best unit in the AFC North. Right? Like, of any of the offenses, any of the defenses, he's like, that's the best unit in the AFC North. And you could even expound on that and say further by some of their dominant performances this year. And so that clause, that contingency, that might be what is hamstringing them in the coaching search. And so you can't have both, right? You got to decide, do you either want these guys or you don't? And if you want these guys, you got to let them do it their way, even if they're inexperienced. You got to let them do it their way. You got to let them, and unfortunately it's their agent, but you have to let them, assemble a staff that makes sense to them and that they align themselves with.
40 minutes away. It's not fair to Shedeur to elect him to the Pro Bowl. We'll cover that at 7:22. Let me get to Deshaun in Cleveland. Hello, Deshaun.
My boys, what's going on?
Hi,
hey,
Deshaun.
Man, listen, this is, okay. I look at the coaching search a little different, right? Like, these new coaches, not going to say new coaches, I think the best coach in football right now is Mike Vrabel, right? I think the reason is how he communicates, right? Forget about the X's and O's. And yes, he played, he knows all this stuff, right? But the way he communicates, fellas, is the reason that those players, he doesn't got the best. I'm sorry, that roster's that's not a great roster.
Totally agree.
Okay, but he has the way he has them playing is because of the way he speaks to them. The way he speaks to the media, right? Like, so now, I don't care. Everybody knows football. Shieldhouse, this kid was a quarterback. Now, I know it was a quarterback only in college or whatever, but he was a quarterback. Then he went to Iowa State. McVay felt good enough about him to put him on his staff. He's been with McVay. He's McVay's right-hand man for 2 years, okay? I heard McVay tell a story about how he learned football, how he learned. This kid's learning the same way. Okay, so what I'm saying is, and this guy, the way he communicates, fellas, I mean, he talks their language. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he's not some stoic guy like this monkey clown. He's not going to be our coach. He can't be our coach, okay? He's too old. He can't communicate with the players good enough. Okay. Now, my first guy was Jim Schwartz. I wanted Jim Schwartz. Nothing wrong with Jim Schwartz.
And how do you think of Jim Schwartz as a communicator?
I think he communicates very well. I think, but he's one of the few older guys I think that communicates good with the players. So I'm fine with Jim Schwartz. But when I got to look at the Shieldhouse, I started. That's when I made him my first candidate. I'm like, hey man, this guy, he knows the game. Like, he knows the game, and the way he communicates is unbelievable. Like, so that's why I got him number one. But I want them both, really. I would love for either one to be the coach and one of them to be the defense. Obviously we got our defensive coordinator. And one more thing before you get me off. I'm so sick of this narrative. The Browns are throwing Jim Schwartz on these guys, and he has to stay. If I'm a young coach and I'm looking at this defense, what the hell do I want to change? I would love for this guy to help me with half of my job, and all I have to do is run the offense.
I wonder if some of it's a power thing. If you're going to force the defensive coordinator on me, what else are you going to force on me, like you did with the other guy? Allegedly.
Well, I think the youngsters don't care, but I think the older guys care about that.
That's the only thing I've disagreed with you on this entire call, Deshaun. I think they very much care. They very much care about their power, especially a guy who's worked for Sean McVay.
Well,
Sean McVay, he and Les Snead worked very well together, but Sean McVay's the guy pulling the strings now.
Yeah, you wonder what guys like McVay are telling them.
These young guys are happy to just, they'll be happy to coach any one of these.
Deshaun, if they were no, they're not. If they were just happy to take the job, then Grant Udinski would have pulled his name. Nate Shieldhouse would not be up in the air.
He got more money to stay where he was at.
You can still get more money to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. A head coach is always going to, usually, unless you're the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to make more money as the head coach than the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but what he did worked out for the coach for Chicago, didn't it? He went back one more year, got that money, and all of a sudden he was the number one.
So he should have just been happy to get the opportunities that he was getting before he became the head coach of the Bears?
Because what do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, if Ben Johnson was a highly sought-after person before he became the head coach of the Bears. He had turned down jobs and decided to be
candidate he wasn't the number one candidate.
He was one of the two top candidates. If there's any sort of a thing that he's one of those two top candidates. You just said these young guys should just be happy they're getting offers. Ben Johnson, I don't know how old he is. He doesn't seem to be the oldest guy in the room. He wasn't just happy to get the job. So that doesn't, Deshaun, I agree with you from everything up until then. No, they want to see how much power they're going to get. Ben Johnson's 39 years old. He ain't that old. He'll be 40 this May. That's not that old. He became the head coach when he was 38. That's not an old guy by terms of coaching. So, no, they want to see how much power they get. You're getting an interview with a team that, like it or not, does have a tendency to get involved and take away power. And we look at this now. Do we believe that Alex Van Pelt was taken away by Kevin Stefanski? Nope. Do we believe that Bubba Ventrone was his call? Nope. What do we believe here? So if we have all this here, this is your future you're talking about here. If you're getting head coaching interviews now, these guys have enough ego and enough confidence in themselves to think that they're going to get another head coaching opportunity somewhere else if it doesn't work out with the Browns. They want to see how much power they're going to have. Oh, it is champing at the bit to say something.
I hear it more and more, and it seems to be, I don't know, an older generation, slightly older than me, maybe. I don't know what people's ages are, but I just feel like people are like, everybody's going to jump at this. There's 1 of 32. Well, the hiring cycle, especially for the Browns this time, has shown you that people are not jumping at this job right now. There are other options, and that they're not going, please, mister, give me this job. I really want that. I would take it because, I work as a radio producer right now. It'd be a massive pay bump for me.
It would be nice.
It would also change my day. I would not get my afternoon naps.
Could you work with Jim Schwartz?
Well, now that's a problem because I think if I took the job right now, Jim would want to run his defense his way. And I see things that I think we could definitely change. I'd like to run like a 7 linebacker scheme where we get them all in there.
You can put it. I think that's as about as apropos as you could get. Put it in your own job's terms. There's if it's not necessary, if you've already made a lot of money, these guys make a lot of money.
I don't even know that it's money. Right now, people are not, they're looking at this as like, well, it's a pay increase. These guys are not taking out the trash at the facilities.
Yeah.
They are legitimate NFL coaches and will be next year and will be 5 years from now and will be 10 years from now. Yep. They don't need to go do this right away.
Now, I don't know their representation situation because Nate is so young and, he had just, when it comes to becoming a coordinator, like that's when the guys start to find their representation, all the familiar names that you guys have heard of, but there are guys in their ears telling them, you get to be selective too.
Yeah.
Because if you're on the radar now at 35 with this little experience, Imagine what you're going to be next year and the year after. So don't flail away and take any job that you can. When Freddie Kitchens became the coach of the Browns, we were the only team that came a-knocking, right? He had to take the job. Like, you'd be stupid not to take the job at that point. You just have to. These guys are so young. They don't want to contaminate not just having a bad year with the Browns. They don't want to be in a bad spot.
Yeah. 216-474-0092. All right, I want to get to some of you guys on this, obviously. We got a lot going on here. Breaking news could happen anytime. Mary Kay Cavett says, hey, it could end up being Jim Schwartz. You got to stay tuned. That was a quote. Diana Rossini, she was saying that a decision could happen this morning. You're a fool to go anywhere else. Ken Carman, Toadmaster General, you could be going to see LeBron take on your Cleveland Cavaliers with tickets. That possibility at 8 o'clock on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for
works at it. I think Nate's one of those guys, like a good amount of the coaches that we do have, is they take a role and a responsibility and then they redefine it for whoever comes into that role whenever he gets a chance to continue to elevate himself. But in a short amount of time, he has made himself incredibly valuable. He's got a great humility about himself too, and you see why he had all the success at his previous stops, and why people were trying to come get him this year. But we're fortunate to be able to have him, and we'll cherish it if it's for one more year, hopefully a couple more than that.
That's Sean McVay back on August 2nd in Rams camp talking about Nate Shieldhouse. So we just took that call from Deshaun talking about the communication of Mike Vrabel. I agreed with most of the call, and we hear about that. He's good at communicating with the players. However, Mary Kay Cabot says, in the words of the great Jim Ross, business is picking up here when it comes to Jim Schwartz. And Diana Rossini of The Athletic says there could be an announcement today. Which I thought there might be an announcement yesterday, but I ain't Diana Rossini. She knows things I don't know. I know newsmaker. I just react to it. So here we are. And Lima has a very grounded opinion here. I think our first reaction is to freak out and get mad because it's Nate Shieldhouse, and I know he was one of the first guys. And a lot of people thought that this was like a Browns thing. It's just like, no, look at where he's – like I was defending the Browns in Nate Shieldhouse. It's weird how we've been on this roller coaster, Tony, and this is why I can't yell at you. It's weird how we've been on this roller coaster for the last 48 hours because 48 hours ago, it's like, oh, everybody wanted Udinski. Now we're going to settle for this Shieldhouse guy. And I'm getting yelled at about you're defending the Browns. I go, no, I'm not. I'm just telling you, I know because of Nate Shieldhouse's previous stops, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Obviously, I'm going to get a text when the Browns are looking at Nate Shieldhouse. And that's what happened. And Lima was with me when that happened, and then he let the cat out of the bag to all of you fine folks on the day after that happened, which you can go back on the free Odyssey app and hear that. We actually have the clip of you saying it and me getting mad at you back on January 7th. So that it is proof that he was one of their first guys. And now it's like, all right, they want the guy. This is their guy. Let's just get him. And now it's like, well, now they don't know if they're going to get him. So what happens? Because people don't trust the owner. People don't trust this process. And by the way, you haven't won many games, so why would you trust any of it? Why would you trust any of it? And you're right. It's like, hey, he might be a really good coach, but is he one of the household names? Is it one of the situations? I love how you put it. It's like, now all of a sudden you said, I read that we can't let him out of the building, even though it's not their building. They were in Los Angeles. Yeah. If it's Harbaugh, you don't let him out of the building. If you get him in, we lock the doors, and we're going to get a deal done here. If it's one of the other big names that were out there, and if Sean McVay were to get canned by the Rams and you actually got an interview with the guy, lock the doors, batten down the hatches, you ain't going anywhere. He's a 35-year-old guy. And I do think that when it comes to Jim Schwartz, I do believe that a lot of these guys would be willing to work with Jim Schwartz. They don't want to be forced to work with Jim Schwartz. They want to know that they have their power. Because if things start to get weird, and they will, look at your roster, when things start to get weird, they want to know that they're not going to all of a sudden be usurped and they're going to be held powerless here. So I don't blame Shieldhouse or anybody for pushing back on, hey, do I have to keep Jim Schwartz? And then that maybe has turned into, well, we're just going to keep Jim Schwartz as the head coach. And that's, even though that at the beginning of all this, he seemed to be the least offensive possibility, it's rubbed some people the wrong way.
So obviously it's just based on reporting and what we've heard when it comes to whether or not, the Cleveland Browns, and I keep seeing people say it's ownership, at least in the reporting, that it's ownership that is making sure that any prospective candidate would be cool retaining Jim Schwartz, who is under contract one more year, who's also obviously interviewed for this job, also interviewed for the Baltimore Ravens job as well. So it throws a wrench into all of this because normally when a team fires their head coach, you're supposed to be open to the pool of candidates and what they want, what they would want their staff to be. And in this case, the Browns have had such a dominant defense, over the course, and you don't typically have that, right? Normally bad teams are just bad on both sides of the ball. But this is a bad team that has had these incredible defensive efforts, like some of the best defensive efforts in football over the last few years. And so, we just had that caller last segment Deshaun and is like, if I'm a young coach, absolutely I would want to work with Jim Schwartz. Yeah, logically, I understand that. But it gets us to a spot where how desperate are these candidates for this job right now, the Cleveland Browns? That's it and that's all. It kind of seems like that's only maybe Jim Schwartz and Munkin. Is that it? Are those the coaches that are desperate about this? Because these young coaches are being told by the people in their corner that they're going to have opportunities.
Yeah.
And maybe, and you got to pay attention to what's going on right now with the Rams. If Mike LaFleur, not Matt LaFleur, if Mike LaFleur ends up getting a job elsewhere, and is he rumored to be the top candidate now for...
Mike LaFleur is one of the rumored top candidates for the Cardinals.
Okay,
yes.
So if he gets that job, and we had heard kind of behind the scenes, hey, the Rams are willing to beef up an offer for Schillhouse to be the offensive coordinator, then if you're Schillhouse, what's a better spot? And I truly want to know from Browns fans, and try to take your Browns goggles off or whatever, what's the better spot for a young 35-year-old up-and-coming coach like Schillhouse? Is it to be the OC under McVay and, have that kind of responsibility and know that, unless Stafford were to get injured this year or not come back, in the offseason, then what's the better spot? Is it the Browns as a head coach with the issues that all of our callers every time start to name off? Or is it to be the OC there? You got to remember, these guys do have other options.
There is a chance to, there is a market of coaches where you kind of got to strike while the iron's hot. The iron's hot on him, but you're right. You're with the right organization. I don't know if it would cool off on Nate Schillhouse. It would probably only heat up for Nate Schillhouse, wouldn't it? If he was in Los Angeles for another year and was the offensive coordinator under Sean McVay.
Become the Ben Johnson.
Now you would. Well, I don't know if he'd be all that, because wouldn't it still be Sean McVay who calls the plays?
Well, right now, yes, you would assume.
Okay,
but the way he's talking him up already, imagine if he like the last caller said, it's his right hand man. No, his right hand man right now is Mike LaFleur.
Yes,
that's his right hand man. But if he leaves, now he really becomes the right hand man, and you just know how that works. Then the Browns won't even be a team that could hire him if they had a job opening next year. Like now, the available target, the landing spots just become probably even better. Because you saw this year, there were 10 jobs that ended up becoming open. Well, the Browns just kept getting bumped down and down and down. So if you are a young assistant coordinator or whatever you want to call, whatever his real job is, you're looking at the Brown situation now. Are you inclined to say, yes, that is the job I want right now? What's the quarterback situation again? Oof.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let me get to James and Canton. You're next up on the Fan.
How's it going, guys? Happy morning.
No, not bad, James. Go ahead.
Hey, Lima, to your point, the better job for Schillhouse from his perspective is staying with the Rams for sure, to your point. And I'm a Browns fan. I'm saying that objectively. To your guys' point, Ken, I thought earlier you hit the nail on the head saying that if you're a young guy, why would you want to take this head coaching job if you're basically getting this forced arranged marriage with Jim Schwartz? Because the organization already has been talking pretty much for the last month about how much they like him, how much they respect him. So if you're a young guy, well, if I don't produce a good offense with a bad roster.
Well, let me just clarify. Stay here for a second, James. Stay with us. I just want to clarify. I think a lot of these guys, you're looking at a guy like Schillhouse, right? An offensive guy. Udinsky, whoever, right? Young offensive. Say it was James and Canton, right? Young offensive guy. And they were like, hey, we need you to accept Jim Schwartz. He ain't going to take that the right way. Because if they're forcing your defensive, that's the only thing I'm saying. I think a lot of guys will go, hey, Jim Schwartz knows what the hell he's doing. He won a championship with the Philadelphia Eagles. People like their defense then. They like it now. You got a lot of good components there. The Browns defense has been a top 4 defense 2 out of the last 3 years. And even on the off year, it wasn't that bad of a defense, for crying out loud. There's a lot of things to like about Jim Schwartz, but you want to have the power to be able to say yes or no, because what if all of a sudden things aren't clicking? Maybe Jim's voice gets stale. You want to be able to have the power to make that change. You want to know as you sit across the table. That's the only thing I was saying. Go ahead there, James.
For sure, and I agree. And to the point, and people go back to, well, the young offensive-minded coach and the veteran defensive guy, the one that they go to recently especially is obviously McVay and Wade Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what people forget is, and not you guys, just some fans, is McVay chose to hire Wade Phillips. He made that decision. They didn't bring back Wade Phillips. He chose to bring in Wade Phillips.
I think I forgot that at times as well, James. I'll admit that. No, I think it will work together. I just don't. I would, if I were him, and thank you very much for the call, I just wouldn't want it forced upon me. If you've heard these things about this organization, if they force that upon you, what else are they going to force on you? What are they going to do? Because you're the one who has to answer to it. You're the one who has to go ahead and do it. 216-474-0092. Coming up in 5 minutes. It is not fair to Shedeur to elect him to the Pro Bowl. Let me explain. What? What are you doing?
No, I'm excited to hear how this pays off.
Let me explain. Coming up in 5 on The Fan.
Before you consider
Jim Shorts seems to be gaining momentum when it comes to being the next head coach for the Browns. Shieldhouse and Todd Monken believe to be the others still in the mix. There's a chance the Browns could make a final decision at some point today. Don't miss the 92.3 The Fan off-season special tonight, 7 to 9. Get the latest of the Browns right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Who votes for the Pro Bowl? Who decides who's in the Pro Bowl games? Do we know?
Is there not a fan vote component?
I want to know who's being unfair to Shedeur Sanders. It's unfair. I'm only smiling because of the way Owen's looking at me. I am dead serious.
You mean who decided to add him to the roster at the last minute?
Yes, who decided to add him? Because he's not going to turn it down. You're doing right by the NFL. It's a TV show. He's always going to mean ratings. He's always going to mean eyes. Everybody's going to watch him. I'm going to tune in to watch. Will you tune in to watch him next Tuesday?
No. Is there? First of all,
that's news to me that it's next Tuesday.
First of all, what is it? What am I watching?
I think it's going to be flag football. You're not going to tune in?
No, I am not. I didn't watch the football game. Why would I watch the flag?
What do you mean you didn't watch a football game? You didn't watch the Browns?
No, I didn't watch any of the games when Myles Garrett was running around. Like I've had zero interest.
The actual Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I've had zero interest in this before. Now it's a flag football game, even less than zero.
Wait a minute. You of all people who have gotten into it with Shedeur fans, left, right, center, from coast to coast. I'm talking coast, babe. You're not going to watch the Pro Bowl games with Shedeur Sanders on Tuesday?
Is it just flag football? Are there other?
I don't know what else he's doing. I don't know what they are, honestly.
Like,
I haven't watched it myself.
When I was young and the quarterbacks, I was a kid, but when the quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks of yesteryear, the Elways, the Marinos, Boomer Esiason, Phil Simms, Bertie Kosar, when they competed in the quarterback challenges or whatever it was, that was, I thought, pretty fun. If they did something like that today,
I think they're kind of doing that in there, where they paint the end of the ball and throw it at the moving targets.
I don't know that there are go-karts with plywood and blue targets on there anymore. But
the fake receiver out there,
of course.
Yeah, they used to have those quarterback challenges. I thought that was always pretty cool.
Those could throw it the farthest, and Drew Bledsoe would throw it 75 yards.
Yeah, it was always like a non-A+ quarterback who just had this rocket. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Hostetler was in there somehow. Yeah.
No, every year they come out with a TV rating for the Pro Bowl or whatever it is they're doing, and I just simply go, I don't believe this rating. And people are like, no, yeah, people are watching it. I'm like, well, no one I know watched it. Who is watching this?
And I've agreed with you. You're telling me you're not curious to see him next Tuesday. So you're like going to not watch. What are you going to watch instead? Are the Cavs on?
I don't know.
I don't know if the Cavs are on. Are the Cavs on?
I didn't. This was news to me that this was even going on Tuesday.
I got nothing next Tuesday for you Cleveland Cavaliers. They play on Wednesday at the Clippers.
Yeah.
So
what time does it start?
What else you got going on?
What time does it start?
I don't know. 8 o'clock, I'm guessing. This is a half-assed enterprise by me talking about this. I'll find it. I got a week to find it, but
that doesn't seem like you're that interested in it. You don't know what it is. Ken doesn't know what it is, what time it is, what he's even going to be watching.
I haven't watched the Pro Bowl games in years, so I mean, I'll do a Google search at some point here and figure it out. But is it not my job to watch, to try to take an eye and see what it is? I saw the first year when Myles Garrett hurt his toe and the box jumps and all the other crazy stuff they were doing.
Yeah, I don't want any of that to happen to anybody.
So let me get back to the previous point. I think this is totally unfair to Shedeur, and I hate it for him. I absolutely hate it. And I know all you, the anti-Shedeur people out there, just want him gone and think that this is an entire waste of, here comes Ken pandering. No, you guys know it's not fair. You guys know this isn't fair. He can't say no. You're doing a solid to the NFL. You can't turn that down. So you have to go to the Pro Bowl games. And it's been, even I had to make the joke at you. Like, oh, you're trying to run a Pro Bowl quarterback out of this team, out of this city. It's been nonstop jokes. It's unfair.
Yeah,
you put a highlight on a quarterback that is a developmental quarterback. You put an unfair highlight on a developmental quarterback, and you've just let the internet go make jokes at his expense. T. Moon Pickens. Twitter actions brought to you by who, Owen?
Scheibman Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
We'll get back to the coaching search coming up. Let me get this off my chest. T. Moon Pickens sends us the ML football, and it's, Dad, how good was Shedeur Sanders in his prime on the Browns in 2025? A Pro Bowler, and they show the pick against the Steelers.
Yeah, I think it's silly.
And it was a bad pick.
I think it's silly to make fun of him over this.
But
Like,
that's
this is
what everybody is doing.
And obviously, it also behooves them, if this is such a big TV event or whatever, like, yeah, you'd want Shedeur and his fans to tune in. Why wouldn't you?
Remember, it became a joke when Tyler Huntley became a Pro Bowler, right? 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was like 4 years ago.
Yeah. Does this doesn't rank on the same level as when Tyler Huntley became a Pro Bowler,
No,
right?
it's probably even worse to people. Because Tyler Huntley wasn't a star. It was just like this. Like no one's going to rip Tyler Huntley. People have spent months they have spent months getting in their foxhole in either arguing for Shedeur Sanders or arguing against Shedeur Sanders. And some of these folks have taken it to a crazy, crazy level. Like the AI videos, and then there's like John Root, who I thought was an AI creation. I didn't know that was a real person. Just going after Shedeur Sanders for breathing, it seems.
Yeah.
So we've taken this guy, like no one's ever done that for Tyler Huntley, which, by the way, we are, now my phone's going to be difficult. It's a special broadcast. I think we're carrying the Pro Bowl games.
What
actual event started at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
On the Fan. On the Fan.
We have play-by-play of a flag football game?
We will have a special...
it's got interviews and
there you go.
Things like that.
So you are going to hear about the stuff when that comes up is what you're going to hear.
I'm sure Shedeur would be asked, what do you think of the Browns coaching search? So there'd be reason to tune in.
Well, by that time, they would have a quarter. You think that this is... You don't believe me that this is unfair to Shedeur? Because now all I've seen throughout this entire time, since it was announced yesterday that he made the Pro Bowl, was jokes. And again, I was part of it. I made a joke at you. Totally made a joke at you about running a Pro Bowl quarterback out of town. But it's also where, now the Pro Bowl's dead. The Pro Bowl's been dead for years. Pro Bowl's been dead for over a decade. I mean, they've been trying goofy stuff with the Pro Bowl for over a decade here. I just think it's patently unfair to take the developmental guy and who had 7 touchdowns and 10 picks, who we were just sitting here bickering about how well he's being taken care of, how well he's not been taken care of, whether or not they've been putting the boots to him on purpose or not. He has been a lightning rod for controversy in this city. And you go, oh, yeah, let's put him in the Pro Bowl there. So what? We can expose him? We can make jokes? Or we can get ratings. Because, again, he can't say no. You want to do right by the NFL. You're a player in the NFL. You want to do right by the NFLPA. They have a high standing in this thing. It's a big deal. So you don't really want to say no unless you have an injury or unless you're playing in the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. And so he's going to play in it. I don't blame him for playing in it. It just sucks how this is set up where it's like, yeah, he'll probably... I hope he does well in it. I don't know exactly what he's going to do. I hope he does well because I don't want to have to wake up on Wednesday and have to sit there and go, oh, my gosh, did you see that throw? Did you see this throw? Oh, gosh, you guys are talking about him being the franchise guy. It sets up. You're not fighting me on this. I think you agree. It just sets up for a bunch of negativity.
Yeah, but if you're Shedeur, would you do you care? I mean, this is something for you and your fans and Browns fans who are interested in this, if they are, that you could still celebrate. And I think it's long been thrown out the window about whether or not the Pro Bowl is some meritocracy about the best players in a game.
It certainly is.
Especially because
the
so
other
many guys...
AFC quarterbacks are Josh Allen and Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Then Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah. Do you understand like that? Hey, man, he doesn't compare with them. Who again was it?
Josh Allen and Justin Herbert.
Yeah. And Shedeur?
So was Shedeur the first one asked? Was he the last one asked? Do we know?
I got a weird sneaking suspicion.
Do we know if Joe Burrow said no, thank you?
Because it was supposed to be Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, and Drake May,
Correct.
right? And Drake May pulled out, and it feels like he was the first one asked.
Well, he didn't pull out. He's
in the Super Bowl, obviously. Yeah. So he had to pull out because he's in the Super Bowl. And then there's Shedeur Sanders. It's like, well, wait a minute. What on earth? I mean, yeah, they're all NFL football players. That's great, but he doesn't compare to Josh Allen or Justin Herbert.
So last year, according to Nielsen, if you add up, because it gets shown on ABC, ESPN, Disney, apparently 4.7 million viewers tuned in last year for this flag football game.
Which is still something that they can sell.
Which
4.7 is still a hell of a
fathom.
number.
I cannot fathom.
I would imagine
that there'd be 4 times the amount of people that would watch your average like Sunday night baseball game or your NBA game on a like a Wednesday night. That is staggering.
And I would imagine that number's inflated a little bit, but that's still more than a lot of sitcoms out there that cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's still more than a lot of reality shows that still cost a lot of money, even though it's reality TV. I mean, live sports, even a live sporting event such as, what else are they doing? Whatever they're doing. The plyometrics of the Pro Bowl game, even that's still going to get a number. And Shedeur Sanders being there, I think it might be for the wrong reasons. I think that he will have a lot of his fans to watch that and to watch him. And I think there's going to be a lot of people tuning in waiting to make fun of him. And I think it takes away. I think it takes it away from like this guy, unfriend Stu on Twitter. Your friend Stu. LOL, Shedeur should have absolutely had said, no, it's embarrassing. I had a guy who emailed me, said, Scott, he said he should have turned it down and given it to somebody else more deserving. That was a quote. I go, what? It's a TV show. You're in a position.
Like C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, you're in a position you'd rather not be in, honestly, because he means ratings. But you're kind of being set up to, I don't know, be a joke to some of the people out there, and I just don't think it's right.
Look, maybe that is part of the secret sauce of Shedeur, is that he's got obviously the element that'll back him up no matter what, make excuses for him. But on the other side of it, he's got haters. And those haters, I think, drive a lot of his popularity. And so I think that's part of the game. So he's okay putting himself out there and getting ridiculed and talked down to by, these fans that don't respect him at all. And so it presents what? Presents a chance for debate. A chance for people to go on social media or whatever streams he's on or make it part of his reality show.
This is my issue as a Browns fan. I have him and two other quarterbacks I don't want to play. I don't see anything really coming down the pike here in this next offseason. I mean, there could be, but some of it's unrealistic. I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to March in the new league year. But some of this stuff seems unrealistic. The draft seems like it's going to give me nothing. So I actually have to get ready to make him compete and have some confidence in himself again. Now, he's a confident guy, but I don't want to have to risk any sort of the confidence. And I'd rather them just pick somebody else or would have picked somebody else and let him get himself going and get himself working with the new head coach and all that other stuff. No, the Pro Bowl games next Tuesday isn't going to get in the way of him working, but it's just another thing that we can sit here and argue about and fight about and all the other crap that goes with the Pro Bowl and how it's dead and how this is a giant joke and that he'll be the center of it. And I want to find a situation where I can take him seriously as a Browns quarterback because, like it or not, guys, and a lot of you I know don't, he's probably the better option that we have going into this year, unless you really want to play Dylan Gabriel or unless you really want to play Deshaun Watson. So as of right now, he's pretty much the best option we have going for us.
All right, it says here, get ready for the 2026 NFL Pro Bowl games powered by Verizon. Watch the league's biggest stars match up in an exciting AFC versus NFC flag football showdown. Explosive plays, blazing speed, and the league's top talent collide in an unforgettable night. Catch all the action. ESPN, Disney XD, streaming with NFL Plus. Subscription required for NFL Plus, or, of course, you can hear it right here on Sports Radio
92.3 The Fan.
Is that right there in their official release?
I might have added that.
Okay, well, the things that have changed, and just back on the Pro Bowl for a minute, they're integrating it into Super Bowl week this year, which they have not done before.
It's in San Francisco.
It's in a ballroom in San Francisco.
Okay.
It's not at a
stuff
stadium.
about ballrooms lately.
Right. It's not out. It was at Camping World Stadium last year in Jacksonville.
Okay.
This year it's in a ballroom, okay? It's also like they're trying to showcase the 7-on-7 because the Olympics.
Yes, they've added
it's going to be at the Olympics this year. So I think they're kind of leaning forward a little bit on that. It's also on a Tuesday night instead of a Sunday. It's always been on Sunday before. If you need some ratings, who are you going to get ratings right now?
As far as our boss hasn't texted us, it should be on Monday night. That's the big night to have ratings.
Don't do this.
Premium ratings on Monday night.
I was hoping for this to die. Why does it continue?
It'll never die.
Okay, it says passing the test.
All you
quarterbacks
guys do is fight in that freaking group text about when the college football national championship should have been played.
Passing the test. Quarterbacks try to hit targets at various distances around the field worth different point values in 40 seconds. There's satisfying catches presented by Snickers. One wide receiver, tight end, defensive back from each conference will compete in an obstacle course challenge, including catches from a jugs machine from 3 different distances. 4 different stages as part of that. There's the big spike when 3 players from each conference step up to the spike-o-meter, which measures the power and impact of one football spike.
And what you do
is this a setting the tone list that you've made?
I think I did this last year.
Is you have brought up a bunch of stuff that nobody would take seriously.
Wait, you wouldn't take seriously Helmet Harmony, which is a game show to test players' knowledge of their teammates.
It's still the best in the NFL that's participating in what turns out to be a giant battle of the network stars. It's still the best in the NFL. I think it's exactly what Owen just said. All right, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, they're big stars. They're worthy of it. Fine, go ahead. Then you have Shedeur. The whole conversation is, why Shedeur even here?
Maybe he's there to take place in Dodgeball, presented by Bud Light, a classic dodgeball tournament featuring 4 teams of 7 players each. Actually, this should be the event. I would absolutely watch real dodgeball.
They've been doing dodgeball for 3 or 4 years now, and you haven't watched it.
Nobody told me they were doing it.
We talk about it every year.
Shedor's in it.
But they did tell me they were doing putt perfect. 2 players, 1 punter, 1 non-punter from each conference. Putt from the 35-yard line with Bubba Ventrone making sure to help these specialists go out there.
You made that up. That's not true. That's a made-up thing that you just said about Bubba.
There is the great football race. In this race, 6 players from each conference will face off in a relay race consisting of 5 different challenges.
I'm just pointing it out. You've never once refuted me during this entire segment because you know I'm right.
Well, it's been quite a tug-of-war between us with 2 teams of linemen made up of 5 players each positioned over a foam pit. Boy, this is like Squid Games. They should do tug-of-war at the top of one of these huge towers. Now, if you lose, you die. But you telling me you wouldn't watch that?
Then we really got to find a new quarterback. I don't want to have that happen. My God.
Dylan Gabriel on one side, Shedeur on the other. Let the best man win.
They did say that ABC will not air this year for the first time because they don't want to interfere with their normal Tuesday night primetime lineup, which is American Idol from 8 to 10, The Rookie from 10 to 11.
What's The Rookie? American Idol's on ABC now.
That's what it says. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Of course. Not so canceled, was he?
News.
Wait a minute. Go back. What's The Rookie?
It's a show about a quarterback who was drafted 5th round.
Is the Connor
ended
still
up being
on?
Not only the starter of the Cleveland Browns,
but a Pro Bowler. Yeah, okay. See, this is what I'm saying. You've not refuted me one time during this segment. You know I'm right. You know that all this was jokes on the internet yesterday, and it's going to be jokes on the internet on Tuesday. You know that's going to happen. Champions pose. Not fair. It's not fair. They could have picked a lot of other guys because the first thing I saw from all the NFL insiders was, what is the EPA? What is the I go, yeah, I know. Here we go. So great, wonderful. That's where we're at.
I'd watch the dodgeball. I think it would be awesome to see the dodgeball. So let me know when that's on.
9 o'clock.
It's been on for years and you haven't watched it.
I don't believe
Zack
you.
Stop
Jackson
acting like you're into
going to join us on the show. 8 o'clock, you can win Cavs-Lakers tickets for tomorrow night. That's at 8 o'clock. Could it be time to flip the switch on the Cavs? We exploring about last night coming up in 5 on the Fan. Northeast Factory Direct. I want you to
much can happen around the globe that we never hear of.
Embarrassing. And we got to be better on defense.
It won't matter till April. I think we know that. Y'all gonna write us off. We could go 82-0, no one would care.
He's a piece of crap. The kid, he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him, how he couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
Put a damn winning team on the field.
Now, the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
Another Cavaliers win last night, 114-98 over the Magic. Didn't fall into the trap, according to Kenny Atkinson. And you asked at the top of the show.
I did.
And I'm going to ask you guys now because I know you want to talk about it. Are you flipping the switch?
Not yet. Not until after tomorrow night. If they beat the Lakers, Tone, I think Thursday we may be flipping switches.
Okay. You could do that without their real team. Like they haven't had Darius Garland, they haven't had Strus.
Shouldn't you be better with Darius Garland and the Strus Moose? So if they're beating these teams without these guys that they should be better with, then yeah, it's time to flip the switch. It may very well be. I can't just flip it on my own, but it may very well be time to flip switches.
I'll be really curious what happens with Jalen Tyson and his role once Merrill, Garland, and if they get Strus back. Because what I don't want to see is Jalen Tyson, who is the exact type of guy that would help you in the playoffs that they have needed so desperately. I don't want to see him have to take a back seat to anybody because they need his defense. They need his attitude. They need his gutsy, guy chases down balls like you would not believe. And then, oh, by the way, he doesn't miss threes. Like, it's incredible. So I don't want to see him have to take a back seat.
He's a tough guy.
So are the Cavaliers missing anyone from their roster right now? Because if you're not, not flipping the switch yet, but it's a long season. They're a long way off from the playoffs. They're not out of it at this point, obviously, because it's still, we're not even halfway through the season or barely halfway through. Is there a trade that you would make?
I don't know if there's one that you can make. That's all I'm sorry. I just feel it's so prohibitive. Like, you have to go dollar for dollar, don't you? And who's going to be willing to give up anything for?
Yeah.
Do you want to bring in Ja? Do you want to do that?
No, no, they're not going to do any of that. And especially now that they're playing this way right now, I think it's probably going to fortify their thoughts that, the only thing they might want to do is to try to salary dump, DeAndre Hunter. Because he's just not been a part of this team in any way. He's just has not been. It just hasn't worked. Like, that was a deal that I loved last year when it happened.
We all did,
and it's just been a loser.
He hasn't been the same without Ty Jerome.
So they need to get under the cap either way by the end of the year, most likely, and you could see them salary dumping. But I don't think they're going to get better. I don't think there's any moves that's going to add to the basketball team.
Ty Jerome was his calming goat. What you're saying.
That was the second Bash brother there. It was DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome. Those are the Bash brothers. You can't split them up. You did, and that's what happened.
Okay.
So tomorrow night, Lakers in town. The prevailing storyline is that it could be LeBron's last game in Cleveland. Do you really think that LeBron is done at the end of this year, or is he just done with the Lakers? Will he go somewhere else? Will he come back to Cleveland and play one more season, or do you think maybe he'll just sign a one-day contract with the Cavaliers so he can retire as a Cavalier?
I don't want him to come back to Cleveland for the reason you don't think of right off the top of your head. If he were to be back in Cleveland next year for the entire season, you're saying?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
If he were back in
not?
Cleveland for the entire season, then you're bringing him back because you're going on a goodbye tour, and that means that what you're doing just hasn't worked. Like right now, my goal for this team. Do I want to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals? Yeah, of course I do. Do I think they can? I don't know. We'll find out more because they're starting to really put some things together here, starting to get me excited and antsy in the pantsy again. So if they're able to get there, then I think that, okay, we can calm the waters here and maybe we can do some things moving forward to keep this core together. If they don't get to that level, or gosh, if they get bounced in the first round or something, I think it's all on the deck. I think there's a lot of different decisions that you could make, and one of them's on Donovan Mitchell, and that'd be ugly. And I think then we'd be admitting defeat, and then fine, bring him on back. But it wouldn't be to win.
It's so crazy to me that LeBron is a shell of himself, and that shell of himself is still way better than DeAndre Hunter, who we were just talking about. He basically on a basketball court, and I don't see why this would change over the next few years. he has to pace himself. He's not going to play defense, in a regular season game. He's just not going to give that kind of effort because obviously he's 41 years old. But there are a bunch of guys I watch that don't play defense, focus solely on offense, and can't do remotely what he does, which right now he's averaging 22 a game, 6 boards, 7 assists, still shoots over 50% from the field. Like, that is pretty darn incredible. So I don't want to lose sight of that.
It's 98% of the Eastern Conference on any given night.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be able to do this next year. And maybe even the year after. Like, I don't think his play... I kind of felt that way about Tom Brady. Tom Brady could have just kept playing, and you're kind of seeing it with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron Rodgers, a shell of himself, and not a quarterback that you can actually make a deep run in the playoffs with. But in any given game, like, he was still quarterbacking better at time when he had protection than a lot of guys. Like, C.J. Stroud. Like, if you had a good offensive line... Who would you rather have, C.J. Stroud or Aaron Rodgers?
Well, because he's so experienced. Like, the moment's never too big. Like, the moment was too big for C.J. Stroud, and that's why a lot of Texas fans are upset. You want him to answer to that moment. It's never too big for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's kind of a kook, but at the same time, like.
So I'm just saying, it's amazing. These guys are still so skilled that they could play the game. It's just, when is LeBron just like, my body can't really, over time, this is just. And I got other things I want to do. I've got other interests.
Right now. I mean, honestly, that's probably what he's thinking right now. It's like, it's starting to become a little bit prohibitive. And you think about what the return is on your investment that you make on every season that you get ready to go play.
And the Lakers have turned on him. I mean, let's be honest.
God,
the leak's
story coming out last week and reading through that. Yes, you're right about that.
All right, I have a question about Jose Ramirez.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we're very excited that he's going to be with Cleveland at least through 2032. And from what it looks like, he's going to spend his entire career in Cleveland. I don't think there's any indication that he's going to leave at any point at all.
No.
So then my question about that is, do you think he's a little bit ruining things for other Cleveland athletes? Because when Nick Chubb's contract was expiring, everyone was like, well, why can't he take a hometown discount? Like Jose Ramirez.
I don't think that was a question of Nick Chubb.
I saw it on social media. I had callers calling in when I'm screening phone calls. People are asking me that. Well, why can't he just take out? People were saying that about Myles Garrett. So now all of a sudden you have one of the best athletes in baseball saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay in Cleveland, which makes Clevelanders very, very happy. But then when other athletes aren't going to do that, are Cleveland fans going to grow resentful of them?
Well, I'm sorry. I've never spoken to those people, if they are out there.
We get some wild things in the screening process that never make it to air, Ken. I'm just telling you right now.
I would just assume, as a fan, not just in Cleveland, anywhere else, nobody's going to do anything like this because this is a singular event, and it's singular. It's happened twice, but the same guy. You're just not going to have anybody.
It's a unicorn event.
These are the same people that call in and go, why didn't Chillhouse just take the job? I mean, it's a promotion.
Well, yeah, but those I would flatly disagree with those people, and I would disagree with anybody who has that opinion out. Because in football and basketball, it's like, hey, make it fit, keep the talent, make it fit. In baseball, it's almost as if everybody's playing on your team as if it's a farm team, so they can get to Los Angeles or New York, one of the two New York teams. It's different when it comes to Jose Ramirez. That's why he's beloved, especially because we saw like. You go from my generation story. Now, I'll finish it up because I know we got to go. I'm 39 years old. Like, I had to accept the tough deal. I'm going to bring him up again. I had to accept that, Jim told me they just made him an offer he couldn't refuse. No, you can refuse it. Jose Ramirez is showing you can refuse it. And Jose Ramirez, he could have made more money. He stayed in Cleveland. So what's your excuse, Jim? I'm starting to get more and more bitter as time goes on about that. I shouldn't, but I am. You feel the same way? You don't feel the same way I do. Jose's made me more embittered towards Jim Thome.
I love Jim Thome.
I know, I did too back in the day, but Jose just like, hey, yeah, let's take $70 million off this and $100 million off that. And he's like, I had to do what I had to do. $2 million more? Now I could turn right around and say, well, that was it the Jacobs or was it the Dolans at the time? Was the Dolans at the time. They should have given $2 million more. Could turn around on that. That's a good point. I'm trying not to be bitter. Jim Thome's a good player.
I like it. I prefer it because I know I'm going to give a shout out to my dad. Big Cleveland fan, obviously.
Of course, yes.
He has been bitter at Jim Thome since that happened, and it has not changed.
He was my mother's favorite player. And Mom would not like that. I talked to the box just the other day. She would not like that.
Did Jim Thome have a tour bus?
No. Did he? He had a sandwich at McDonald's.
He used to open for Snoop. I remember that.
That's my wife, not my mom.
All the women in Ken Carman's life, you know? You don't know.
My mom was the Allman Brothers. My wife's Snoop Dogg. Get it right.
You're the Almond Joys.
Zack Jackson, 9 o'clock. Up next, was Schwartz a hindrance to this search? One reporter says yes. We have that for you coming up in 5 on The Fan.
Anthony Lima for Mentality Health.
somebody else. And it doesn't seem like we're going to have a quarterback that just comes from the clouds and is automatically, that's the assumed starter. So we're going to have all the training camp stuff we had last year with people charting plays and doing everything like that. That's coming right back around this time.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Nine o'clock, Zack Jackson going to join us on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have more Brown stuff to go over. We still don't have a coach. However, Lakers are in town tomorrow. That means LeBron's in town tomorrow. Listen very closely to Anthony Lima right now.
Yeah, here we go. 92.3 The Fan looking for a winner. Enter the code word THROW, THROW at 923thefan.com before 9 a.m. Your chance. Win a pair of tickets to see Cavs take on the Lakers Wednesday. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Rocket Arena, all from the Cavaliers and Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
So it's coming down, it seems, to either Nate Scheelhaase or Jim Schwartz. Listen, I can't defend the process or how it looks. Again, you won 8 games in 2 years. There's nothing very good. We bicker over the quarterbacks. We bicker over quarterbacks that really, I mean, here we are. This is not a good situation. You guys love football. It's not a good situation. We're bickering over quarterbacks that none of us really believe. Like, if you put a gun to my head and said, Ken, is Shedeur Sanders going to be the franchise quarterback of this football team? I'd have to say no, right? I mean, I want good things for him, but I'd have to say no. If you ask me the same questions about Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel, I'd say the same thing. And we still know that as tough as this business is, football, that quarterback's still the most important thing. All right, so we got that. So we bicker about quarterbacks that none of us really, truly believe are going to be franchise quarterbacks, and we're going to set sail with these guys for the next 10 years plus. Maybe Jonathan feels that way. I don't know. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. We have a head coaching search now that you have guys pulling their names out left and right, and whether or not that there's legitimate reasons for it, it doesn't look good because of your history. You had Chip Kelly go on a trip with this team and spend 12 hours with him and then say, thanks for the dinner. Enjoyed the steak. I'm going to go on over to Philadelphia. And Chip Kelly ended up being terrible for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it seems like everywhere else, you just can't get out of your own way. Like, they wanted a guy, they got a guy. His name was Hugh Jackson. That ended up being terrible. So even then, there's no trust over the last how many years? 26 years with the Cleveland Browns. You wanted an owner involved because you had Randy Lerner, who wasn't involved at all, and now the owner's too involved, or now he's not involved enough. It's just basically when we want it. Because you ain't winning enough games. So all that being put out there, there's no lipstick that I could put on this thing to make it look any better. You are what you are. You just have to do your best to build from the past, not forget about it, and go forward. And I think that the ownership is looking for the same thing that fans are looking for, anybody to trust. And that's why I think that maybe Jim Schwartz is a sticking point here. But is he a sticking point to a detriment to this football team, Anthony? I ask you that because Daniel Yafusi from ESPN was on Afternoon Drive yesterday, and he wondered whether or not that Jim Schwartz is a hindrance to this search.
I think that there are some candidates who the Browns, showed some interest in through back channels, but, it wasn't reciprocated. So, the process didn't continue. And then you look at the fact that, they have spoken very, publicly about wanting to keep Jim Schwartz in some capacity. So I think that in a way you kind of handicap yourself and handcuff yourself, especially when this is a hiring cycle where the most, the top candidates are really on the defensive side of the ball. You kind of, handicap yourself when you say, well, we're probably going to lean offense anyway because we got to build up the offense and then we want to keep our DC. The pool starts to shrink a little bit with an already, less appealing opening. So, again, I think there's a reason why it's taking this long. Andrew Berry I believe he did want to take a very deliberate approach, get through all the interviews, as many interviews as possible that they wanted to take in and then make a decision. But there's no doubt that, the Browns were not a priority to some of these other candidates.
And now we've reached a juncture here where Nate Scheelhaase, a guy that people weren't even over the moon about 48 hours ago, it's now a disaster if they don't hire him. That's the way I'm looking at social media. We've taken the calls this morning, 216-474-0092. I'll ask you guys. I mean, there are people out here that look at this like it will be a disaster if Nate Shieldhouse does not sign on as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And no matter what, like, I got to ask you your opinion. I mean, you defended earlier. You can't nod your head at me.
Hold on. I said earlier, I think it depends on which fans you ask. I think you're lumping all the Browns fans together. I think it's a demographic. It's based totally on demographic. I think if you are a young fan, you are dealing with crypto, you're day trading, you're listening to podcasts every day, and you are in daily fantasy and you love the young, hip coach who's going to be, ahead of all the fossils, all these old coaches. Forget about, and they ripped Harbaugh. They ripped, these older coaches who they think the game has passed them by. I think you're right. I think they don't care about experience. They don't think experience is any kind of indicator of whether or not you're going to be a good head coach in the NFL. They think that either Udinski or Shieldhouse or anybody under the age of 35 is going to be a better candidate 10 times out of 10 than a retread, then yeah, those people are irate. But I still see plenty of older fans who have loved the Jim Schwartz effect on Myles Garrett in the defense. Remember, it hasn't always been this way with the Browns defense. We remember plenty of Myles Garrett defenses that did not perform in the upper echelon and didn't get the most out of Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. And there's been a definite, sea change when it comes to the defense. And we talk accountability all the time. Like, I asked you point blank earlier in the show, like, do you not think Jim Schwartz is a good communicator? Do you not think Jim Schwartz is
a good communicator?
And by the way, he is a Georgetown grad. I mean, that is it's not Ivy, but it's Ivy.
Well, you keep saying that, and then people are going to go, he's the smartest guy in the room. We're going to do that all over again next year.
Just saying,
you got to be careful.
I'm just saying, but the younger demographic, they have no problem with that. They love that kind of thing. So Jim Schwartz has one scar on his resume, right? And that's when was he a head coach in Detroit? How long ago were we talking about? Calvin Johnson was still playing football way back when?
2013, I think, was his last season.
So are you telling me that once you do that, that's you for life?
I had no kids. You were still skiing downtown.
Yeah. So you're never a different guy. You're never evolving. Somebody like him is incapable of becoming a better head coach. You think he's stubborn and stuck in, that period of time in the NFL when clearly, like even in Stefanski's 6 years, the league evolved. The stuff that Stefanski came in doing, teams aren't really doing as much anymore. Things change, and then they come full circle too. They can always come back. Like, It's just... I am a little surprised that so many people are like, Jim Schwartz struggled way back when in Detroit, therefore he can never be a good head coach in the NFL.
I would agree with you there. I've argued that a million times over. I mean, he took over an 0-16 team. They made the playoffs in 2 years. I know that the thing fizzled out, obviously. I mean, it ends badly for everybody.
Now, who's his OC? That's a huge deal.
That's a big issue.
He's got to talk to in the interview process, and he's got to tell Andrew Berry and the Haslams why he thinks he could turn around either Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, or maybe there's a guy he game planned against.
This is very
over the
odd.
last few years. It could be his offensive coordinator.
This is very odd because I think a lot of people would think. I usually think that you're trying to speak for younger people, and I'm speaking for older people, even though I'm 5 years younger than you. Listen. I don't disagree with anything you just said, but I think that there's a lot of this that goes back in history. And it bothers me, and I think it bothers Browns fans. And I think they just want. I think that there's a very large contingent that wants somebody new and exciting, almost as if if he's a lottery ticket. And Nate Shieldhouse feels like a lottery ticket. And I'll tell you this: I mean, from a lot of the people I talked to, I know that I strongly believe that some of the stuff about Jim Schwartz, to me, has been overblown. I think some of it is a test of power. Okay? Now, if you put the Bills up against the Browns, this is, again, where it's at. But this is not how it's going to be taken. If you put the Bills' job, they got Josh Allen. If you put the Rams' job as offensive coordinator, all right, they still have Matt Stafford. They still have Puka Nacua. They still have guys that you can throw to, guys that you can run with. There's still weapons there. If you put the Browns there, we have quarterbacks that we're fighting over that none of us have a full level of confidence in, and Harold Fannin Jr. Maybe Quinshon Judkins, but again, when he's in the backfield, ask Coach Lance tonight. It was telegraphed for you. When he was out, they ran the ball better because they knew they weren't going to be handing the ball off as much, so you had to respect the pass a little bit more, and it opened up things for Rocket Sanders and Dylan Sampson and everybody else. When Quinshon Judkins was back there, he was a guy that you could trust, and they knew he was getting the ball. They could key and load up 8 in the box. So that's what you're dealing with right now. So it might just be natural that Nate Shieldhouse decides to stay or go to the Bills. In the Bills situation, they got a great quarterback, so it's better. It's just better. Judging by that press conference we saw, it wouldn't be better, but when you have a quarterback, it's better. I also know that the Jim Schwartz, and I was worried about him overrunning people. You're running over Mike McDaniel, 60 years old, strong-willed guy. I mean, Jim Schwartz is built, loud, very strong-willed person. I was worried about whether or not he might run over people. I have been told that that isn't a problem. And that even former people have said that's not going to be a problem. Like, that means a lot, okay? Because even on the way out, there weren't bad things being said. That's good. So I think that Jim Schwartz, maybe, I hope, and things get bad. This is it. This is in January, so it's the best laid plans. I would hope he'd be able to work well, but I'm not necessarily sure altogether. These are things that we hear. We'll find out when they're actually fighting for wins. Still, I think a lot of the fan base wants something new and exciting, and Jim Schwartz still feels like a placeholder until Andrew Berry gets fired, is how they might feel. So we have a very divided fan base on how this is going. Because Nate Shieldhouse, you are right. They could end up 2-16 or whatever, 2-17 or whatever. How many games they play? Play 17 games. Do the math. They can win 2 games next year, 2-15. And Nate Shieldhouse could get fired, and you could be right about it. But it feels like to a lot of fans that, hey, he's 35 years old. They're going to give him more time, and then they would just move on from Andrew Berry. 216-474-0092. All right, which one do you want? We're paying attention to news. Mary Kay Cabot says, stay tuned. Could end up being Jim Schwartz. Diana Rossini says an announcement could come this morning from the Cleveland Browns. West Zack Jackson at 9. Ken Carman, Tone Master General. The Neutral Zone, about neutral sites with the Rat Boy and the Hog at 8:45 on the Fan. Window Nation.
Timothy Lynn believed to be the others still in the mix. There's a chance the Browns make a final decision as soon as today. Don't miss the 92.3 The Fan off-season special tonight, 7 to 9. Get the latest on the Browns right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Zack Jackson, less than 40 minutes away. You're going to have to hear the latest with him. My phone's going nuts right now, not with Zach, other things. So what do you want to do? You want Schwartz or do you want Nate Shieldhouse? Do you want either? Does it have to be Nate Shieldhouse at this point? I mean, we're kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty of it where I can just ask point blank, right? Do I need to be that creative with it, or can I just hit you guys over the head with it and go,
well,
hey,
so are we down to three
want?
guys? Are we down to 3 guys and that's it? There's no surprise candidates?
I think we're down to...
There's nobody to go back and pivot towards?
But I got to tell you, I don't know if we're going to get a decision. I say this, and we could get a decision in 7 minutes. I don't know how soon we're going to get a decision. I'm getting texts that they're going to talk to them all again today.
Okay, so that would be Schwartz.
Monken, Schwartz, and Nate Shieldhouse.
Okay, Monken is the one none of us are talking about.
Watch it be Monken. All right, do you want Monken? Too much Monken, not enough Monken. That's going to be put on my tombstone. Might as well. Are you interested? Can I interest you in a Todd Monken?
No.
Hi, Miles.
Not really.
Now, why is that? Can't say yes, can't say no, can't give me a good reason.
Yeah, the biggest difference I would say between Monken and Schwartz, because, now Monken hasn't been a head coach in the NFL, but is kind of like lumped into the older, retread type of coach. Again, hasn't been the head coach yet, so you'd be giving him his first chance to be the head coach of the NFL.
But
right?
There's great segments available. Monken around. We talk about his play calls. We talk about in-game decisions. Shieldhouse, from the Shieldhouse to the outhouse, or from the penthouse to the Shieldhouse. I mean, guys, we think all these things. So there's less you can do with Jim Schwartz. We've had Jim Schwartz for 3 years. There's not much, wordplay you can
We're
use.
doing Jim Schwartz.
That's not bad. That's not a bad one.
See, anyway.
Not as good as Monken around or from the Shieldhouse to the outhouse.
It's a fashion segment I like to do.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is, I do know right now, there's a bunch of unknowns. The one thing I do know is that Jim Schwartz has gotten the most out of Myles Garrett, the most out of Denzel Ward, the most out of the defensive unit.
Yeah.
And those guys, they respond to him, and you could tell there's an identity there. There's a true identity for who they are, how they conduct themselves, a tenacity. Like, I've made fun of them for dancing around and losing games while they're dancing and choreographing the dances. But the thing is, I think the bigger picture is they don't associate themselves as losers. the way like they leave the field, they're not happy that they lost the game, but they're like, yeah, that wasn't our fault. That we've put the team in position to win games. And if
that's part of the reason why Kevin Stefanski ain't here anymore.
Right, honestly.
I do think so. I think the owner is a lot like I can't say that. No, that's going to go over like a lead balloon. I really do think the owner's been looking for people he can trust for a long time. I think that the Joe Banner arranged marriage, when they first bought the team, took its toll. And if you've noticed throughout the history of the ownership, they've bumped people up. They've rarely brought a brand new group of folks in. There's been people bumped up. There's been people who have been jettisoned, but their replacements have been from within. Andrew Berry, again, Andrew Berry was here, went to Philadelphia. They brought Andrew back. And so I can see why Schwartz would be a sticking point maybe with the ownership, because I think that they trust Jim Schwartz. And honestly, who's one of the biggest fans of Jim Schwartz out there? Myles Garrett. Is Myles Garrett the cornerstone of the franchise?
Yeah,
yes.
I think people underestimate that.
So I think that there's a lot of, Myles really, really, really likes Jim Schwartz. It goes without saying.
Now, look, if the Browns...
when we go over the Baker stuff, you remember what Mary Kay wrote? Whose side did they pick then? They took Miles' side, so here we are.
I think that's a great point. I haven't really heard a lot of that.
So all I do is make good points.
I will also say, it'd be one thing if the Browns were... bell of the ball when it came to the openings. There were 10 openings, and the Browns were one of the top 3. Then I'd be like, I'm kind of disappointed if Jim Schwartz is your guy. But when the Browns are where they are, and we kind of have to face facts here, look at who the competition is right now. It's Todd Monken and Nate Shieldhouse, who, again, up-and-coming guy, right? Mm-hmm. But just seems early. It really does seem a bit early. Doesn't mean he can't be a good head coach. Just seems early. So when you're at this point, I do think there's probably a little bit of apprehension from the Haslams. And then who knows? Who knows what Schillhouse has said? Who knows what he wants? Who knows what kind of staff Schillhouse wants to put together? That all comes up in coaching interviews. And we did have a caller earlier that like, hey, young coaches should just accept the terms, whatever they are. Whatever they are. Hey, we want you to work with this defensive coordinator. Hey, we feel this way about the way we're doing business. Maybe even, guys, head coaches come in and they sometimes want to have a say on scouting. You don't know. Like, even a young coach might have a whole setup. Maybe he's talked to McVay, and McVay says, you cannot take a head coaching job if you don't have this power. Don't even bother, especially not with the Cleveland Browns.
It's not like it used to be. If we were doing this in 1986, I might agree with that call. Deshaun brought that up at the end of his call. I thought the rest of the call was great. That was Deshaun in Cleveland who brought that up in the first hour. It's not like it was like when John McKay went from the USC Trojans to the Buccaneers. He went from $48,000 a year to $250,000. Like that, you're already in a different tax bracket. So, yeah, I'm sure Nate Schillhouse, I'm not sure how much Nate Schillhouse makes now, but if he ends up being the offensive coordinator of the LA Rams, he's going to make over $1 million. Sean McVay makes a lot more than that. I understand that, but you're still dealing with over $1 million a year. And you can live on that certainly nicely, even in Los Angeles, and then be ready because I don't see that falling apart.
By the way,
I just don't see that falling apart. So I think Nate Schillhouse would be looked at as a top candidate in the future.
You said $1 million.
2, 3. I mean, it's still in a different tax bracket.
6.
There you go. So it's still in a different realm of what we live in. There you go. You're right about that. You are totally right about that. 216-474-0092. So if it were still that way where, you know, an NFL head coach made all this and his assistants made all that. Yeah, maybe that's right.
That game has changed big time.
Yeah, I think it's different now.
Plus
it's really only recently.
Schillhouse knows that if he's going to be with McVay, he's only going to get better opportunities going forward.
Chris in Virginia, he's listening on the free Odyssey app. He's next up on the Fan. Hello, Chris.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
We're doing okay, Chris. Go right on ahead.
I, from the start, really liked the idea of Jim Schwartz as the head coach, and I think, like a lot of Browns fans, as the time has gone on, like, I didn't know who Grant Udinski was. I didn't know who Nate Schillhouse was, and then now that they've been reported as the top candidates, I think, like a lot of Browns fans, I've, like, talked myself into these guys and gotten excited. So if you don't get them, then it almost feels like it's a loss, but I feel like Jim Schwartz would be a great head coach, and I think for where the Browns are at, you need a strong personality that's not going to get bullied and pushed around, whereas I feel like a Nate Schillhouse might be controlled by the front office. And so I think when it's all said and done, Jim Schwartz would be an excellent head coach and a leader of men, and it's either going to work out really well or it's not, and the defense will be too old, and we're going to have to start over when the new stadium comes. So I just have to challenge myself and think I think Jim Schwartz would be a great head coach. I just don't know who he would pick as offensive coordinator, but I don't know. I feel like it might be a good thing in the long run and the short term if Jim Schwartz is the head coach over Nate Schillhouse.
Well, yeah, you make a hell of a point there, Chris, and thank you very much for the call, because if you think about it, Jim Schwartz is a guy that I think has become a consolation prize to a lot of people. Then we still have to roll up our sleeves and talk about OC, whether or not that be Anthony Lynn or somebody else. But bring up the Todd Monken thing. Would Todd Monken be calling his own plays? Also, as the head coach, that might be that's the only candidate you would consider like, okay, he's the head coach and he calls the plays.
Yeah,
would
probably.
He work well with Jim Schwartz? Is he an underrated candidate to that? Oh, by the way, my boss over at 8 also texted, "May the Schwartz be with you." Okay. I just don't know how you fix that. It doesn't go as well as Monken around.
I think there'll be people lining up on this station to do that.
Aren't they doing a new Spaceballs?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Rick Moranis in it?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Coming out of retirement?
Yes.
Is Pizza the Hut in it?
Yes.
Let's go to Jim in Strongsville. Hello, Jim.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Wonderful.
Listen, you were talking before about who's for or get. Listen, Schillhouse would be fine. Nate Schillhouse would be fine. But the problem is all these fans that are like so up against it, they couldn't pick the guy out of a lineup. They have no idea what he actually does for the Rams. I'm just saying we don't know how either of these guys is going to turn out. It's not the Browns' fault that there were 8 other openings and 3 of them happen to be really good openings. The same time that they fired Kevin.
Well, yeah, it is. How's it not the Browns' fault?
They didn't know all those teams were. Did they know the Ravens' job was going to open
up? Well, they still need to control their own destiny. So hold on. They still need to control their own destiny. So they either should have done it last year when they made these moves with Kevin Stefanski, or they should have just brought them all back for another year if they wanted to do that. You can always blame the Browns for what they've done or didn't do. It's their fault, not yours.
I would have brought them all back. But what I'm saying is we just don't know. We don't know how either of these guys is going to turn down. And everybody needs to stop acting like this is the girl that turns you down at the dance. These guys all have different reasons for doing what they're doing. Big deal is that goofball Mike McDaniel didn't want to come in for your second interview. We don't know if it's because he didn't think he had a shot for the job.
But that's the way that people feel. I mean, you're telling them how people need to feel. I mean, you're looking at a franchise that hasn't been good over the last couple of years. And even in the year that they were good, it felt like fool's gold because you knew that Joe Flacco wasn't going to be here the next year. Now, all of a sudden, you're putting it on the fans, Jim? You're putting it on the fans? What? How you put it on the fans?
Nobody lives and dies with this team more than me, Ken.
Oh, so that gives you the credentials to tell fans how to feel?
You got to be the pander bear out there pandering to everybody.
I'm not trying to pander to everybody. I just don't understand.
They can feel however they want to.
You can get as loud as you want. I just don't understand how you can take up for a football team that's 8-26 over the last 2 years and tell fans that they just need to accept it.
As a matter of fact, I got rid of 2 of my 4 season tickets this year because I've had enough of the team.
Boom, he's half the fan he used to be.
You're half the fan you used to be, Jim. So now you're half the fan you used to be. So that still means that you can talk about all the other fans and how they should feel. Yeah. Who made you the president of the fans?
Because that's 2 times more the fan than most of these clowns that call in.
Boom! Wow! I didn't realize that we're having. Now Jim should be the only one to ever call in.
More Lima, less pandering. How about that?
Hey, you get as mad as you want.
Look at me, I'm
get loud.
Let me tell you what's going on. I'm a Pepperidge Farm guy.
Get it off your chest. Get mad. That's not going to make you any more right. It's not going to help. Nope.
You know what? Why do you do this to me? I swear to God, I'm going to go. Oh, I got to go. I
have to reset yourself. Felt like you there. That was amazing. I should do that more often. It was silly. You ain't telling the fans how to feel. Greg and Kent, you're next up on the fan.
Ken, Anthony, conspiracy theory. It's been Schwartz the whole time. Look, they're going through looking at all these offensive coordinators, or all offensive young guys. So that's why they're pulling out, because they're thinking they're going for a head coaching interview. They're actually going in there for an offensive coordinator interview. That's why Todd Monken's still around. He's going to be an offensive coordinator. Schwartz is the guy. I don't know if there's some kind of rules in the NFL where you can't talk to coordinators during the NFL playoffs, so they say it's the head coach. It's been Schwartz the whole time.
Todd Monken doesn't have any better options? I thought that he was going to go to the Giants at one point. Wouldn't you rather be the offensive coordinator of Jackson Dart?
Why isn't he there?
Because there's a possibility he could still be a head coach. Isn't that the same thing with Yadinsky? Isn't he staying in Jacksonville unless he gets offered by the Bills?
Why aren't they offering him a job yet? Conspiracy theory. Schwartz is the guy. Look at it. It's coming out today. Schwartz is the guy, and Tom Monken's the offensive coordinator or Steelhouse.
Greg.
It's just like we go on an interview.
Greg, you can't just say conspiracy theory and it just erases everything you said.
Keep saying it.
I think it does. It's a pretty good argument. Come on.
All right. Not a bad argument. I've had worse. I've made worse. Thank you very much for the call.
I always wonder about that. That does happen every year where a bunch of guys get interviewed and you're like, oh, yeah, they weren't really getting interviewed for the head coaching job. Like they wanted to pick their brains, but in the end, that was their ability to get somebody to interview that already had an existing position. This was the only way you could get them in your building because you can't do a lateral move situation. But you only find that out really after the fact.
I swallowed too much air with my coffee right there.
I'm sorry.
Sorry I didn't do it.
Be Kenny the head coach now.
No, I can't be the head coach. That's what my dad used to say. I go, I'm sorry, Dad. He goes, sorry I didn't do it. Kenny did. And then he'd go whoop my ass.
The good old days.
Yeah. Well, guess what happened? I was the one who had to take care of him last week now, wasn't I? All right, coming up at 9 o'clock, Zack Jackson going to join us on the show. Ooh, hopefully I won't be incapacitated to do that interview. Gosh, I feel terrible. Zack Jackson, 9 o'clock, and neutral sites for the Neutral Zone with Rat Boy and the Hog. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, the Neutral Zone, coming up in 5 on the Fan. K&K.
Latest on the Browns, we're the station you turn to first. 92.3 The Fan is Cleveland's home for breaking sports news. Your teams, your station. It's time for the Neutral Zone with Rat Boy and the Hawk. Crank it up and rip off the knob.
All right, so the question of neutral sites games has been brought up yet again. It was brought up by Mike Florio. He put it in Pro Football Talk last night. It's not the first time we've heard this question, but after what happened in the AFC Championship game where it was sunny in one half and suddenly snowing in the second half, the question came up again of should the NFL push for neutral site games for these championship games, or should the higher seeds still get the home field advantage? Because what's more important, giving an advantage to the team with the higher seed or making sure that weather or other things aren't impacting the outcome of the game?
So terrible idea. I have never – people kept throwing this in my face, saying, well, Lima, you want this. No, I don't want this. I do think that you earn home field advantage. Now, I saw a bunch of Denver fans saying that they didn't get the advantage they thought they were going to get. This just didn't work out.
But you also want the team with the better record to be the home team.
Yes.
Regardless of if they've won their division.
I've said I think they do this wrong, their format or whatever. But beside the point, no, I'm not pushing for this. I'm surprised, though, that the NFL isn't. Because the NFL, if they could figure out a way to make more money on a neutral site game where they can plan around. Now, you don't find out till the week before. Well, excuse me. That's the whole point of why they would want to do this, is because they would be able to say, on this date, these teams will be here. This musical performance will be here. Get your pregame show going. If they can figure out a way to make more money and increase that pool of cash. The NFL has done everything they can. It's why they're going to go to 18 games.
But I think that people will watch anyway.
Right.
And my answer is, how many people are going to travel? If you're not going to travel. If New England's been in the AFC Championship game, how many times? And they're probably going to be there again, right? So New England's been there. How many Patriots fans are traveling to the AFC Championship game? You go to bowl games, you travel to playoff games.
You think they'd have trouble filling out a stadium?
I really do.
Do not.
Yes, I do. I don't think that I think they'll travel to the Super Bowl. I don't think they're traveling to a neutral site. And locally, I'm not going to a Patriots Ravens AFC Championship game at Huntington Bank Field when it's an enclosed stadium. I ain't doing that. I don't care.
Think about it this way: if the Browns were in the AFC Championship game, and it were in Pittsburgh, all right, what are you probably going to do? You're probably going to stay at home and watch it. What if it's a neutral site? What if it's your chance to go out to Arizona or Florida in January?
And you can go to Arizona or Florida for the Super Bowl. Because my whole issue is, again, the first time the Browns were in the AFC Championship game, yes, fans would travel. But if you actually get used to something like that in some alternate universe where we would get used to going to AFC Championship games, then no, you're not going to travel as much. You wouldn't go. So you're not going to have sold-out stadium venues like you would at home. Because people will go to Huntington Bank Field, whether it's outside or indoors or in the middle of a lake, doesn't matter, to go see the Browns in an AFC Championship game.
But I think what also people are getting wrong, when I heard Nick and Jonathan arguing this, and Nick took your point of view, Jonathan took my point of view yesterday, and Nick just kept saying it was a close football game, and therefore close football games are good football games. And I'm just like, I am okay with weather games. In fact, we saw it. The Bears were in some great weather games this year down the stretch, and in the playoffs, there were still Caleb Williams was able to make these incredible plays. Then the weather did not impede him. It would have been different. Caleb Williams, if he had to play in that on Sunday, he would not have been able to do that stuff. That's where you lose me. You lose me when guys can't keep their footing. But that ceases to be a real football game.
My answer, not taking shots at Nick, my answer wasn't, I didn't hear it, so maybe you're oversimplifying it. I didn't say just because it's a close football game. I like a game that really highlights, because they're so evenly matched in this case, and the weather, I think. If it were Jarrett Stidham versus Drake May on a neutral field, it's going to be Drake May. So Denver got what they wanted. They just made a silly decision. You should have made it a 2-possession game. They didn't, and that's what I liked about the game, is that it puts a white-hot spotlight on a good coach in the decision that he should have made and that he didn't make.
And Ken is referring to the part of the game where you could see the field and see the football. You couldn't do that.
Well,
fair enough.
Second half.
Is weather really going to be a factor?
Should have taken advantage of it.
A few years down the line with not every, but it seems like there's a push towards enclosed stadiums in the NFL, and we might get to the point where all 32 teams are going to be enclosed.
So then just move it to neutral sites, because they all look the same anyway.
That. Buffalo decided not to do the dome, but you're obviously going to see what Washington, Chicago, more and more you are going to see more of this.
And bad weather isn't really as big of a deal in D.C. But let's move on. You talked about 18-game season. Robert Kraft actually talked about this last week. This is courtesy of 985, the Sports Hub, and this is Robert Kraft pushing for that 18-game season.
I want to tell you guys, though, we're going to push like the dickens now to make international more important with us. Every team will go to 18-2, and eliminate one of the preseason games. And every team every year will play one game overseas. And part of the reason is so we can continue to grow the cap and keep our labor happy. because we're sort of getting near the top here, with the coverage. 93 of the top 100 programs on television are NFL games.
Right.
Think about that. It's really amazing. And you look at the size of our crowds versus the other sports, and it's really, and we had that Amazon game on Thursday a couple of weeks ago. 31 million people streamed. And so as long as we can keep growing revenue, we can keep long-term labor peace.
Again, that's courtesy of 985.
98.5.
98.5. Sorry.
So he says they're doing this so labor can get paid more. That's obviously not why they're doing this. They're doing this
That's
because
a very disingenuous thing for him to say.
Yeah, they're just going to be able to print more money.
That's him reached across.
And why stop at 18? That's the question. Well, if you're going to make labor happy with 19 games,
I don't
20
want
games,
anymore.
and obviously
365 games, play one every single day. Why not?
The union will just, what's crazy is the more games you add, in the short term, the players are going to make more money. You're also shortening their careers year-wise because you add up the amount of hits and compare 16 games to 18 games. You're shortening all these careers by doing this. So you got to take that into consideration as well. I'm not about this. Ken, you said you're not about it, but
oh no, I know.
Are you going to put up a stink when we're sitting there playing more games? I think you'll probably say, "Well, I'm excited to watch this weekend's football."
No, if the Browns are in it, but if we're just playing out the string like we are again, it's just another opportunity to get those culture wins that I fight for. That you guys all put words in my mouth over.
Even if the Browns were good, I don't like the good teams. Why would you want your team playing more games? You'd want to get to the playoffs. No, Let's go.
And plus, we're already kind of seeing this. Even with the 17th game that's added, I mean, you add another week to everything, it just adds so much more to where we're seeing a little bit of like the load management thing. You're seeing with the quarterbacks, like, well, he could come back in 3 weeks because then they're back in the AFC North, and we could bring him back in 3 weeks. It's like, well, wait a minute here. Isn't every game supposed to count? So you water it down. But in the end, I know this because we all know this because it's in college football too. We bitch, we moan, and then at noon they kick it off, and at 1 o'clock they'll kick it off, and we'll all watch.
Yeah, you will see more backup quarterbacks. Like last year, you saw, I think, 62 quarterbacks play, and that's kind of becoming the norm. Yeah. So that's part of the load management thing. Like, why risk it? And your season's not down the tubes. Needs. You got more games to make it up.
League needs more Jarrett Stidham.
Think about, too, as a season ticket holder, you're going to be paying for more games, watching bad football. Maybe that's also part of the reason they're all going domes, because you're going further into the calendar. You're going to get colder weather games anyway.
Well, and you also brought up international games, too, because he kind of indicated that they've probably squeezed every dollar that they probably can in the United States of America. So they're like, all right, well, let's go to other countries, squeeze them for dollars, too. And then that adds another layer to it, because then it's one thing to travel from, say, Cleveland to Los Angeles, or, Los Angeles to New York. But it is a completely different beast when you're flying to the UK, to Germany, to whatever other countries, down to Brazil, like other countries that they want to go to. Travel is hard. It's already hard enough going East Coast to West Coast, but then to be traveling thousands of miles, that far.
They don't seem to care, though.
Yeah, so I mean, that's going to...
And the players sign off on it in the CBA. So how much do the players really care? They just want more money.
That's true. I mean, that's going to add a lot of... It's another layer of complication.
That's it.
That's it.
Outstanding as always. The Neutral Zone with Rat Boy and the Hog coming up next. Speaking of hogs and rats, he's both. Zack Jackson from The Athletic. Are we down to 3? I thought we were down to 2. Todd Monken. Ooh, too much Monken, not enough Monken. We'll ask him about all 3 of those guys and whether or not we're going to have ourselves a coach by the end of this day. Ken Carman, Tone Master General. Where, Tone?
Right here on The Fan. Anthony Lima, 4. QC Connects Lazy.
to 9. Get the latest on the Browns right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Keep us locked in all day, every day for the latest on the Browns' search for a new head coach. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns. Time out! Time out! 92.3 The Fan.
All right, let's get to the Make It Right, Call Right hotline. Zack Jackson joining us on the show. Let's turn Lima's mic on. Before we get to Zack, we do have something to give away here.
A pair of tickets to the 26th Greater Cleveland Sports Awards at Rocket Arena on Thursday, February 5th. Get tickets at clevelandsportsawards.com. Enter the word CIRCLE by the end of this hour at 923thefan.com to get registered to win.
We keep this up, you're going to have to do the Kevin and just turn his mic on because he just shouts into the ether. It's incredible.
I don't want to go through that life again.
All right. Well, my fault, too. Let's go to the Make It Right.
He's got to come in barefoot and put his feet up on the desk, then.
Let's go to the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Welcome in Zack Jackson from The Athletic. Hello, Zack.
Hello, gentlemen.
All right. Who's it going to be?
At this point, I don't know.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could follow the trail that I thought that Shieldhouse might be coming on with them, right? That didn't happen. So I'm not sure I know that we're in the fourth week of the coaching search and it's time. And it's time for the guys that don't get it. It's time for Todd Monken to go, accept the job with the Giants and build his staff. And it's time for the Browns to have a guy so they can have staff. So at this point, I don't know who it's going to be because really the only way it should have gotten this far is if you were just waiting on Nate Shieldhouse, right? Which obviously by rule you couldn't talk till yesterday. So I think we'll find out today. But I really don't know at this point, and I'm not going to join the parade of voices just screaming about that they do know because it's been a wild few weeks.
Who do you want?
Oh, gosh.
What?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm intrigued, by Nate Shieldhouse, right? I know the background. He makes sense, but I didn't put him on my list because I couldn't imagine that a 35-year-old with 2 years of NFL experience, only one behind a coordinator who doesn't even call plays. That's not an NFL head coaching resume. It's not. It would be bold. I'm fine with it, and I've said all along that I'm fine with go find your own McVay, your own Shanahan. And all of these guys, Kevin O'Connell, Liam Cohen, right? They have non-traditional roots, and they're all tied to McVay. So if you wanted to do that and fix this with this whole thing, there is no instant fix for this offense. This offensive personnel is awful. And this is why this has gone this way, right? This is a hard sell. So to me, there is and always has been through these 4 weeks a difference between, okay, we're not going to get our top candidate. One of the top candidates, that doesn't matter. Let's do a thorough search. Let's figure this out. I'm not sure if the plan has gone in any kind of straight line. So it's about connecting the dots after. And bless you guys for having to talk about this 4 hours every day. But this is a hard job because there's no offensive line, there's no quarterback, and there's no wide receivers.
Zack Jackson with us right now talking about the Browns coaching search. So right now, nationally, the Browns have been catching a lot of criticism for the way this has gone down. There have been some names that have continuously pulled out. Now, we don't actually know if they were led to believe they weren't getting the job or if those candidates didn't exactly like some of the terms that might be coming along with this job. With all that said, we saw what Pittsburgh did to get Mike McCarthy. We saw how the Giants search went. Is there really a right way and a wrong way to conduct a coaching search, or are there just a lot of different shades of gray here?
Yeah, I think it's mostly shades of gray, right? I think the right way is to cast a wide net. I think the way that we'll never be able to judge Anthony, regardless of what Mike McDaniel's interest level was or wasn't, or regardless of how many people told them no, right? We'll never be able to judge what they talk about in these interviews and the way it went. And so if a guy bombs an interview, then he's off your list. If you are not open to hearing ideas and opinions and things from these guys that you're interviewing and allowing that to weigh in your decision making, then you fail. But we don't know, how that has gone. Any coaching candidate, whether it's a young guy getting his first opportunity for just interview experience, or whether it's an older guy who knows that, man, if this gets down the road, I'll have to decide if I want to use my one chance on this, right? You're looking at ownership and you're looking at quarterback. That's what you're looking at. So whoever it is, it's not about winning this argument here or the press conference on Friday or whatever. It's about hiring the right offensive coordinator, trusting that the right people are there to start to fix this offense and getting forward. I mean, a 30 or 35-year-old always kind of made sense on some level because this is Bizarro universe. This offense is not fixable. This group ran itself into the ground. They went all in on 2 seasons. They won 8 games in those 2 seasons and fired the head coach, but not the architect of the team. So any coach is looking at quarterback and ownership, and that's probably why this is in week 4.
All right, do you believe some of the reporting out there that ownership has essentially told candidates, we really prefer that you work with Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator? And if that is the case, how limiting do you think that would be?
Well, I don't know how limiting it would be. I think it's sensible to think that based on the construction of this team, but I think it goes back to the larger point of, you really sure you can connect all these dots in a reasonable amount of time here? And the other thing is, I know that Jimmy Haslam came out and said what he said, and he put his faith in Barry, and he said that Andrew Barry's running this search. But ownership makes this hire, right? The GM makes a lot of hires, and the head coach makes a lot of hires, and other people in the organization. But really, the head coaching hire is made by ownership almost all the time. And so, again, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what's being said in these interviews. They were never going to get Harbaugh. They were never going to get Sean McDermott. It didn't matter. It doesn't have to be that name. It has to be the right fit. And I just look at the situation and I wonder what the right fit is.
Why is Mike LaFleur a consideration for the Cardinals, but never for us?
Yeah, that's an interesting one too. It really is all about fit. The Browns didn't interview Joe Brady. They didn't end up interviewing Chris Shula. Hafley knew he was getting another job. But why Shieldhouse and Udinski and not Michael Flohr? That's something I've thought about, but I don't know. It was the same situation in Arizona, right? They fired the coach, but they kept the GM. The GM has things he prioritizes, I guess, and I don't know him personally. But yeah, Michael Flohr, based on experience and actual proximity to McVay, you would think would have been on more lists. But it's just crazy. I went and looked at what Liam Cohen's path was. He was coaching small college, and then he was the offensive coordinator at Kentucky 2 different times in between some stints with the Rams, and all of a sudden it was 1 year and up. So in that regard, these guys make sense. It's kind of wild that Shieldhouse would be a candidate, but 5 teams have now interviewed him. So he must be a real candidate. But what he thinks about the Browns, and also what's the actual timing, right, of the Bills drop yesterday? Did he feel like it wasn't going well with the Browns and it was instructed to release that they had, or was that request really made before and it just happened to come out? I don't know. I think it was probably instant because these agents do a really good job of making sure everything gets out instantly. But that probably determines whether we think Nate Shieldhouse is still actually in this thing with the Browns or not, right? Did he want out, or was it not going well? Or did it just happen to be that Buffalo said, we would like to talk to him because we've done further research? That doesn't make sense. Buffalo knew for months they were firing Sean McDermott if they didn't get to the Super Bowl this year.
All right, Zack Jackson with us. So one of the things, and it's a rumor, but that, Shieldhouse might have an OC job with the Rams waiting for him if certain dominoes fall. And who knows, the pay bump that would come along with that. Coordinators can make, certainly north of $1 million. Some can make, $3 million, depend on who you are or even more.
Right.
What are the Browns supposed to do if it seems like certain coordinator positions are more enviable for candidates than their head coaching job?
Yeah, then you're supposed to get better players. You're supposed to create a better environment, right? That's the reality. Mike McDaniel was only getting one more chance. He didn't, it just wasn't going to work out here. It wasn't a huge deal. It was presented as a big deal because everybody's been sitting on Twitter for 3 weeks waiting for coaching news, but it wasn't a big deal. Nate Shieldhouse, I don't know if he's going to get one chance or two chances, but he's only done this 2 years. I mean, he could keep his young family where they've been in an organization that wins, right? So that makes sense as a sensible move. I don't know if Udinski's getting the bills or not. I think most of the league would hire Udinski as a coordinator right now, and that's why Jacksonville's trying to extend him. But who would hire him as the head coach when he's 30 years old and only has 6 years experience? And that dwarfs Shieldhouse's experience. So that's tough. But all of these things have to weigh in. And look, at the core of it, if you thought that the Browns never should have hired an older head coach and never considered it, and you outright laughed like I did when Todd McMunkin's name was submitted, sure. But when you look at Schwartz's situation in this situation and how you have this organization that's invested all of this and you only have one strength and it's your defense, like why couldn't you get behind hiring one of these young, brilliant guys, if there's so many of them, to be your offensive coordinator, and then finally, having a sound plan to fix your offense, drafting some offensive linemen and wide receivers, and seeing what happens. I mean, I do think to an extent, like what the players think matters. So if it's Schwartz, if it's any of them, guys, it's not a disaster. It's way more about connecting the dots from here.
So is it? I threw it out to Lima about Myles Garrett being the kind of the driving force behind Jim Schwartz. Is that accurate?
I mean, I would think Myles, certainly the way they've structured this thing, should have input and does have a voice in the organization. Okay. Now, they should have traded him a year ago to launch this rebuild. Are you guys there?
Yeah, we lost you for a second. We got you. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, they should have traded him a year ago to launch this rebuild, but the GM didn't want to be the guy who traded for Deshaun Watson and traded Myles Garrett away. So now you have Myles, having this incredible year, and he did. It was his best year, and he still is in his prime. All of these things, but like he has no chance to have a competent offense next to him, and you have all these issues. So, yeah, it's hard. This whole 10 minutes is like, what have you guys been talking about for 4 weeks? There's not a game. There's not a fourth down decision to judge. There's not a this player or this player decision to judge. Like, it's all been speculative. It's all been exhaustive. I think some of it is the nature of a beast, and some of it is, man, they were maybe not prepared for how some of this was going to go. So you just have to hire the right guy. Hope that someone trusts that you can be a competent organization, and they're not, Ken. I mean, even you can admit, what's the words we've been using all season long? Sunk, dead. Like, this is bad. So this is the exciting part, is a chance to revive it, but it's not an easy
Now,
job.
what do you mean by even you could admit?
I mean, you've seen this. You know the situation here, right?
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right, Zach, it's been 17 years since Jim Schwartz had been hired to be the head coach of Detroit. He did make the playoffs, but, it ended up becoming, like most head coaches, a resounding failure towards the end. It's been so long since then, and he even was a coordinator of a team that won the Super Bowl, and he clearly has gotten the most out of Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and the Browns defense. We had seen other coordinators fail in a big way. So why is it that so many people are kind of scoffing at the notion of Jim Schwartz as a head coach and a head coaching candidate?
Well, because he's not an offensive guy, because he's not one of these young guys that were kind of dangled in front of them. What people who are really in the business or in the building are scoffing at, I don't know. But I always thought Jim was an important part of this process, because you could ask him two questions you couldn't ask anyone else. One, what would you do differently your second time around? And two, like, what really went wrong here? Like, what is your view? I mean, Schwartz is the best hire this organization's made in a long time, right? So once it was clear and once the season was over and he could think about it, like, what did you think? And maybe you wouldn't like his answers, and maybe they would disqualify him from being the head coach, which, again, would lead you to maybe the thought that he doesn't really want to stick around as defensive coordinator. I don't think anybody knows that. He's kept that close to the vest, right? But there should be advantage in that. And, like, it's not the worst hire in the world. It's just this. If you wanted Jim Schwartz to be your coach, you should have fired the head coach that you knew you were going to fire for months, and you should have fired the special teams coach that needed fired for months, and given Jim a tryout at the end of last year. Then you would have a whole lot better feel, and I think people would feel a lot better about it.
Zack Jackson joining us on the show. Are you at the Senior Bowl?
Yes.
What are they saying?
It's really just starting, and frankly, not a lot of people are here because everybody's stuck in Dallas Airport. So the first practice is not till this afternoon. I have been here. I had to move my flight up to get here, but I have only run into one or two people who I know. I did get a big eye roll from someone, and some interesting words, but a lot of people are here because it's been awful. They had to change, I think, 125 fights for the players to get here. And as of last night, they were still waiting on some of them. They were all supposed to be here. That's just because of the ice storm. So, yeah, I'll be here the next couple of days, and we'll see. And we'll be watching Garrett Nussmeier because if he's healthy, he's going to be drafted as someone's quarterback, relatively high. I don't think the first round. But he will be an interesting guy. He's a guy that Dane Brugler said last year might have been the second one off the board. And then he came back and had a nightmare year.
I was going to ask you, is there anybody that the coaches might stand very close to and then overdraft that we could freak out about like we did this last year?
Well, I got to tell you, when I saw Diego Pavia in person yesterday, Dylan Gabriel is Drake May compared to that guy. So I would think they're not going to come to the Senior Bowl and draft the shortest quarterback for the second year in a row. But I don't know, because it was on this day last year when I saw Dylan Gabriel run out of the tunnel and I scratched him from any quarterback list that I had.
Zack Jackson from The Athletic. You got any more for him?
No.
Okay. Zach, thank you so much for the time and your candor.
I wish we could provide some insight, and I wish that you guys had something else to talk about, because it's time to hire a coach and move on.
Yeah, do we? Because after this, it's just arguing about what quarterback should take. Oh, I said it was unfair to elect Shedeur to the Pro Bowl. Thoughts?
I
think it's totally unfair to him.
If there weren't 17 other jokes with this thing all along, then it would be a huge joke. But it's not something that I thought was worth even snickering about.
But on the internet, Zach, that's fair. But you see on the internet where nothing's fair, and on Sports Talk Radio where even less is fair. It's just been nonstop jokes, and I'm going, that's not fair to him at all. So it's silly.
Yeah.
Oh, Zach broke.
But
okay, I'll let him go. Yep, Zach just hung up. He said, "Bleep this, I'm done." Zach on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. You didn't even disagree with me, by the way, when I said that. You never disagreed.
I just thought you were talking about whether it was fair to him, whether he should turn it down or whatever.
No, I don't think you should turn it down. There were people who were saying he should have turned it down. I said, no, you can't turn it down.
Yeah, his personality and his fandom, he's got his big groups of fans. They're going to follow him anywhere. So I imagine the NFL is trying to take advantage of that.
All right, who do we want, and is this thing a mess? I think we got the answer to one side of it. Are we going to get multiple ones for the other? Ken Carman, Tone Master General, live on the Fan.
Anthony Lima for Fanatics Sportsbook.
Overtime with Jake Volnick. Weeknights at 7. Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
I'm picking a coach right now.
Oh, good. That'd be nice. Who's going to be, Kenny?
No, who I want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead and pick him.
Pick him.
All right, go ahead and pick him.
Who's the guy? Ex-coach.
Why don't you pick the coach, Tone?
Oh, I was excited to hear your thoughts.
Wow. Didn't even think that was an option.
Does he actually have to be available?
Yes.
I wanted Brian Flores, but he obviously didn't get any run. Nobody in the NFL wanted to talk to him.
I wanted Brian Flores, too. No, the Steelers. Didn't the Steelers talk to him?
They talked to him. And then,
they
said,
just
no,
decided
we liked potatoes.
They wanted mashed potatoes. And they got mashed potatoes, and away they go with mashed potatoes. They'll finish 9-8. They'll still be okay. I'm dying here. 216-474-0092. Who do you want? I want to say Shieldhouse so bad. You know me.
That's who you want, or that's who you think they're going to pick?
No. I'm asking opinion. Who do you want?
Now, when did you know?
You just said I want Shieldhouse.
The only thing I could tell people is that I knew that Nate Shieldhouse, and I know for a fact, obviously, and it's not from the Browns, that Nate Shieldhouse was one of their first choices.
Now, when did this come to you? At what point did you feel confident enough to say this is the guy you want? Because, it's been how many? It's been 4 weeks. Oh, and has Ken stood on the table and wanted anybody necessarily?
Oh, no. Not on the table.
Because it's not a good situation.
Was he in your envelope?
Who?
He was not. He was not on the list.
No, he wasn't. Jim was.
So
Jim was Jim was in the envelope.
Okay, if he was in the envelope, why wouldn't you be excited to bring Jim in as the head coach?
I want to say, because there is something about the unknown. Yeah, Jim was. I have it right here. There is something exciting about the unknown. Jim Schwartz, 216-474-0092. I'm picking Jim. I know me.
Well, that was great.
I'm excited.
Move I've ever
no,
seen.
because I got to go. Because it's not a good job. It's not a good job. I've been telling you guys this for weeks. It's not a great situation. It is one of the 32 jobs, but we all know this. And people have been fighting. People were fighting me about it until we got to this week, and now they're like, "Okay, Kenny." It's like, yeah. And I don't, guys. It's not even about like I have been a person who we've talked about ownership before, and it's like, guys, one, I think most ownerships are the same way, with the exception of probably the Rooneys in Pittsburgh. They're the same way. It's just what their latest record was. Again, we brought up the Krafts. What did Patriots fans think of the Kraft family last December? In December of 2024, what did Patriots fans think of him by Christmas? What do they think of him now? It's just what your record is. So we could say whatever. It's like, yeah, well, they got to sell the team. You just sell it to somebody else. You're not going to like that either. So that, to me, it's inconsequential. It's the same thing with the Dolans. It's to a different extent because, yeah, I know, but you got to get the family's approval on all that stuff, and they're not going to do it, and that's a whole mess. Same thing with Dan Gilbert. Say the same thing about all three guys. So here we are. And I look at the roster. It's the same exact thing that Zach just said. The offense isn't great. There is a few players, but it's not enough to really accomplish anything this year. So is there any one of these guys, they believe that they're closer than we believe they are. Is there any one of these guys that can get you from 5 wins this year to 9 wins next year? I don't think so. So I kind of just want to go with protectionism and say, fine, you know what? I'm a conservative guy when it comes to this stuff. Give me Jim Schwartz, 216-474-0092. It's less of a chance to be a complete disaster.
The amount of people, now obviously online, it's going to skew younger.
Of course, I say that, and here,
they are trashing the thought that Jim Schwartz could be the head coach. And as I told you, I think there's a difference in demographic. I think older fans are going to be more, they think that's more acceptable to hire somebody who has not only done it before, but has been a coordinator on a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, I hear you guys.
Younger people do not seem to want anything to do. They just want young guy, inexperienced. They don't care.
Because they want to be excited about something.
And if Sean McVay said a good thing about you, even though there's like 1,000 coaches Sean McVay has talked up.
Play the clip.
And you could do that with Zach Taylor.
Well, coaches do that all the time.
Go listen to him talk about Zach Taylor, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. That was the whole joke about Sean McVay. He talked up all those young guys.
You got to admit, though, you remember what was it? Bill Parcells was like, I'm on vacation. Like, you can't give a quote when it came to Freddie Kitchens. People were like, why can't you say nothing,
That's
Bill?
That's right.
I'm on vacation. I can't answer the phone right now. That was the first time Lima goes, that ain't right, Kenny. And I'm like, during that commercial break, I'm like, no, that ain't right. Who do you want? I've said it. I got to make a decision. Jimmy's got to make a decision. I got to make a decision. I'm going to pick Jim. I got nothing against Nate Shieldhouse. I'm not going to freak out.
I said I'd be okay with Schwartz, but the caveat is, of course, who's the offensive coordinator? That's going to be a big deal, obviously, because you're looking at a quarterback room where you have these young guys. Yeah, it's just
Anthony Lynn,
I think
probably.
Shieldhouse probably is going to be the OC in, with the Rams if that all goes down the way we think it would.
You know what? Who's to say that Jim Schwartz is going to be my head coach in 2026? So you know what? Maybe we did it with Kevin. Maybe we'll do it with Nate Shieldhouse.
Well, here's what I don't understand.
Gosh,
and you made this point earlier, and this is where I kind of disagreed with you.
Fine,
I've seen a lot of people say, I could totally see Schwartz being one and done if they hire him. What a joke. But I don't understand why people couldn't see Shieldhouse as being one and done.
Oh, yeah.
If they have a rough year and things get away from them, and then you got Myles Garrett going, you hired this kid with very little NFL experience, 2 years where he didn't even he wasn't even the guy. Like as Zack Jackson just told us, he's the guy behind the guy who's not calling the plays.
That's not Jimmy's MO, though. I think that that's the first time I ever used that term.
But the point would be that if they have a rough year this year, and you got Myles Garrett chirping the way that you think probably Myles would at that point, who knows? Maybe even Denzel Ward starts talking. We'd be talking about a house cleaning. Not only would the coach be potentially losing a job, but also Andrew Berry would, because this would be 3 straight terrible years.
Oh, gosh.
In that scenario.
Oh, jeez. You were supposed to say a bad thing for the Browns? I mean, they've been losing, and I think people are like, well, you're halfway to finishing the job. Why didn't you do the whole thing? I mean, Zach, that was the first thing they said. And again, he has very few legs. I don't know if he has a leg to stand on. Like this draft has to be another out-of-the-park draft. And it's almost unrealistic to do that. I mean, what's the rate? Like 30% of your draft picks, if 30% of your draft picks are Pro Bowl caliber, whatever that means anymore, Pro Bowl caliber guys, then you've had an incredible draft. This last year was a great draft. It had to be, because that's the only reason he's still here. If they go into next year and you've had another incredible draft, then obviously I'm going to be feeling a lot better. But if you've had another incredible draft, then obviously Nate Shieldhouse would still be here. I think that the Browns are always looking for somebody they trust. That's why they elevate people from within to take over jobs after they let go of people. I think they look for people that they trust in that sense, and I think that they would go right from Andrew Berry to – they really don't want to let go of Andrew Berry. They would go right from Andrew Berry, and then Nate Shieldhouse would be the one in charge. I think that's more likely out of a 3-14 season than all of them are gone. And by the way, by the time we got to next December – you'd find plenty of reasons on a 3-14 team why Nate Shieldhouse would have to go. Everybody would. It's in game. But I'm a conservative about these things. The defense has done a fantastic job. They're an emotional group. I've always wanted a leader of men. I think that they need that. I don't think you've had tremendous leadership there. You still need to, no matter what you do, you need to address it. I don't think, and I've had several people about the offense, this and that. Guys, you know that these ingredients are not that great. I don't think there's any, it can be better, but nobody's going to secretly unlock this offense where it's going to be incredible. Nate Shieldhouse won't be able to do it. Todd Monken won't be able to do it unless they really knock it out of the park in this draft. So, no, you're looking at another 2 years before this thing gets really going. So if that's the case, and well, did you pick one yet before I go to the phone?
Yeah, I said Schwartz.
Okay, so we're both saying Schwartz. Now, what if they pick Nate Shieldhouse real quick? Are you going to freak out?
No, I said I'd be open-minded throughout the whole process.
Yeah, I'm not going to freak out either.
I have a lot of. I will tell you, I have a lot of.
You have more fears with Shieldhouse.
Yeah, of course, because he's never done anything like this. This is not. He's not had anything remotely like this. He's just a good communicator who's been a nice understudy of McVay, but he hasn't had any kind of role.
9:45. Sean McVay said some incredible things about Nate Shieldhouse. I want you guys to hear that coming up here in about 10 minutes. Let me get to David in the Falls. Hello, David.
Hey, good day to you guys.
Same
hey,
to
listen, you know, Schwartz is probably my guy as well. But I will tell you that, you know, if you have a thought process and, you know, this has come about talking with my friends, we're all football nerds, you know, and they're all saying,
football
you know,
guys.
what we
They're
really
football
should
guys,
do,
Owen. They're football guys. Go ahead there.
They are. But here's the thing is that sometimes and every once in a while, the name Sanders keeps coming up. And I'm like, that seems nuts. But it does seem a little bit logical because if you say you want some entertainment, if you say he's only going to be there for 2 or 3 years, that gets rid of both Sanders at that time. And then you're in a new stadium, you know, and so on. So you start there as well.
Wait a minute, you're telling me a bunch of football guys.
This call now,
You're
Ken?
telling me a bunch of football guys sat around.
No, he
and
said football nerds. Those are not football guys. And here you go. I'm a Sweet Chin Music nerd.
Oh no! Come on, Owen.
We're not doing this. You guys, it happened on Friday when you guys were out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nick Padone brought it up. He didn't bring it up in any bit of complete seriousness, but he did bring up those same things of, you know, well, it'd be entertainment. Like we're trying to do real, actual NFL head coaching here, not whatever happened in Colorado.
I tell you what, you get a lot more opinion out of it than, if they pick Jim, I want Jim Schwartz, but if they pick Nate Shieldhouse, it's like, I'm going to keep an open mind. I think you'd have a hell of a lot more strong opinion on that. So Nick has a point where it would be more entertaining. Might not be all the best entertainment that you want, but
we had some callers too. You know, the point was brought up with, well, didn't he get an interview with the Cowboys? Like, I mean, obviously, him and Jerry Jones are very close, and if they talked to him about being the head coach 2 years ago and decided that's not for us,
but I would turn it
probably a shining light on.
If I were making it different, I'd turn right around and go, wait a minute, you had a Pro Bowl quarterback and you had a Heisman Trophy wide receiver, and you can only go 13-12 over those 2 years. Now that is Sports Talk Radio, boys. 216-474-0092.
Tough acting tonight.
Boom! Tough acting tonight.
Where the hell did you find that?
I had to find it.
All right. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty of this. Is this search a mess? 216-474-0092. Maybe Sean McVay can change our minds about Nate Shieldhouse. Not that we would hate it. It's just, Lima, it's weird when you're protectionist with me and you're like, let's just do the conservative thing. Let's take Jim Schwartz and call it a day. I don't like that. I don't like it when you agree with me on these things. I know you can agree with me on Extend Technologies, xtendav.com. Tone and I disagree.
Equal intense flu. The nighttime sniffling, aching fever. Best sleep with the flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Catch the latest Browns news all off-season long. Stream us on the Odyssey app and on your smart speaker by telling Alexa to play 92.3 The Fan.
If I play the Sean McVay, is it going to make people feel worse or better? Because if they don't get Nate Shieldhouse, you hear Sean McVay saying nice things about Nate Shieldhouse, you're like, well, I want that guy. Here's Sean McVay on August 2nd during training camp about Nate Shieldhouse.
What are you seeing in Nate Shieldhouse, and what does he bring to the table for the offense in the second?
Yeah, he's a great coach. He's got a big picture perspective. He's got a great ability to be able to connect with the players. He's a rare communicator, has high emotional intelligence. He really works at it. I think Nate's one of those guys, like a good amount of the coaches that we do have, is they take a role and a responsibility and then they redefine it for whoever comes into that role whenever he gets a chance to continue to elevate himself. But in a short amount of time, he has made himself incredibly valuable. He's got a great humility about himself, too. And, you see why he had all the success at his previous stops and, why people were trying to come get him this year. But we're fortunate to be able to have him, and we'll cherish it if it's for one more year, or hopefully a couple more than that.
Cherish it, Tone. All right, here we go. This is Adam Schefter 4 minutes ago. While Nate Shieldhouse and Jim Schwartz have been primary focuses of the Browns head coaching search, Todd Monken is a name still square in the mix. The team has closely tracked him this entire search. He previously served as the team's OC in 2019, knows Cleveland well, and is a prime candidate. Ooh, boy. Too much Monken, not enough Monken, Tone.
Well, it's funny. Anytime his name gets brought up, it's almost as if any Monken is considered too much Monken when talking about this head coaching search.
Would anybody be mad at Monken? Would you be mad about Monken?
I'd be curious.
Would anybody be mad at any of them? I mean, in all honesty.
Oh, I feel like fans are going to be mad no matter what now.
Are you going to be mad no matter who they pick?
At the process, at the flailing away, especially with the amount of criticism they are drawing around the NFL.
Are you just mad right now on January 27th that you were born in the greater Northeast Ohio area and you were a Browns fan growing up? Is that it? That's where we're at. We're in this giant holding pattern now. And I got to tell, it's like, okay, which text or which tweet would be the one that, throws everybody off? When it comes to, Nate Shieldhouse, again, I heard that while I think he'd work with Jim Schwartz, I heard that there is a kind of let's see how much power I can get here, because you need to know when push comes to shove, exactly where you stand. I also think there's probably going to be questions about the staff that he assembles and how much power is his. Because a 35-year-old who's never been a play caller before, while that does not matter as much to you and I, it may very well matter to the Browns. It may very well matter to Jimmy. Okay, if you've never done that before, who are you bringing in to do such a thing? Fair. When it comes to Todd Monken, you can get two birds stoned at once. He could be the head coach and the play caller. Wouldn't you assume he's the head coach and play caller? Okay, so there's good things to that. It's not a tremendous pool. It is not where we thought it's about where we thought it would be. I don't think it's about where a lot of people hoped it would be. I think a lot of people were hoping maybe we can do another slam dunk like it was back in the day, even though that slam dunk ended up backfiring on us like crazy because the guy who was a slam dunk ended up going 333-1 or whatever the record was. It was terrible.
Slam dunking with Monken.
216-474-0092.
What do you think of the job that Monken had done in Baltimore, especially the last year?
I got to tell you, okay, if I say it now, you're going to think I'm trying to make the best of a not great situation, but you can go back in the archives and look this up. I have to wonder, Greg Roman started out hot, fizzled. Then Todd Monken started out hot, fizzled. What's the problem? Now, eventually, there's so much pressure on these guys. Maybe it's just the way the NFL is now. There's so much pressure on these guys, we eventually rotate out offensive coordinators. Maybe there is. But it seemed to be that at the end of the year, or by the end of the run, it's starting to get a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit predictable. It's starting to get a little bit paint by numbers here. It's not really correlating to success. And I'm thinking, well, the offense wasn't always the problem. You were giving up big leads in the fourth quarter.
But it's funny.
You gave up a big lead to Deshaun Watson and the Browns. That's the whole reason. I mean, we went on that second half for all that offseason, man.
But it's funny. He had been criticized for some big games going away from Derrick Henry, taking him off the football field. You know, Stefanski was criticized on a play here or there, taking Shedeur off the field. This is a guy who took Derrick Henry kind of out of their offensive attack when the season was on the line. And so obviously he drew a lot of criticism, and the fact that it seemed like Lamar Jackson was going backwards. He was getting worse at going through his progressions. He was getting even looser with the football. So is that a Lamar thing, or is that a Todd Monken thing?
Well, when it comes to that, I think that maybe that might be a protection issue. Is that where you're starting to see ghosts that aren't there? If you're not checking through your progressions, that means I'm guessing you're a little bit hurried up in your approach. I mean, I went to a Glacier football clinic online over the weekend, guys. I mean, I know what I'm talking about now. That might mean you're a little bit hurried in your approach. Okay, was something that Todd Monken wanted to do? I mean, everybody wants to get rid of the ball quickly. But if you're too hurried up, then there's a problem. Also, I mean, let's be honest. He's been dealing with injuries, so maybe he wants to throw instead of run. Well, if you're throwing instead of running, and there's more emphasis on throwing the football, well, yeah, you're going to be in the pocket a little bit longer as you start to get used to that sort of thing. So there's a lot of – I'm just not hearing a lot of nastiness on any of the three guys. It's just a big malaise. Is that not true, Owen?
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, Monken's been successful calling offenses,
yes, he has.
Since he left Cleveland.
He won 2 national I know that's college.
Yeah.
Won 2 national championships. They did go to the playoffs a couple years. It was I understand that he went away from Derrick Henry in the postseason. I know that's been one of the big issues. Now, I would ask, because I'm a Browns fan, did they go away, or did he go away, or was this something that was taken away from him? Was this a checkout? What was it? These things are where I try to put a good face on things because I'm a Browns fan. But when you hear Sean McVay talk about Nate Shieldhouse, that's exciting. That's new. That's exciting. Youth, fun. We all love things that are younger. We all love things when they're new. And Jim Schwartz, I think a lot of people feel it might feel more the same, but he's done a good job with the Browns. How can I be that? Like Cliff Kingsbury, I would go, how? Why on earth? This is a guy I've always brought up before. Why on earth would you pick a guy that just seems to Peter Principle, as you taught me about years ago? You take a guy who's Peter Principled his way up through the NFL ranks. How on earth could you do this again? That I would be upset about. Frankly, there might be a couple other guys, but I know going in, like, these guys got a very tough job. All of them. And I don't expect the world. When Kevin came in, remember, they finished off great in 2018. They go to 2019. This is your culture argument. They go to 2019. It is an abomination. They win that one game. You saw a glimpse of what it could have been against Baltimore earlier in the year, and then it was just an abomination basically the rest of the season. Kevin came in. He had major expectations, and that kind of got thrown by the wayside because we dealt with COVID, so we didn't know exactly what we were going to get, and it almost felt – I remember we had Mulligan conversations about that. Man, we got this new coach, and he's got to deal with all of this, and this is going to be really, really difficult here. But there were still expectations because you had a quarterback. This, we don't know about the quarterback. I think a lot of people are looking at it going, yeah, you're still looking for your quarterback, and you don't know where you're going to find him. So it's the same thing with all three guys. You're hoping maybe you could get Jim Schwartz to be the head coach and get Todd Monken, but that ain't going to happen. He's just going to go over there to the Giants.
I wonder, if you think about everything that's happened after the season ended, Kevin Stefanski was apparently one of the most sought-after guys in the coaching cycle. Of course, coaching cycle changed in a big way with the 3 big jobs opening up. But is there anybody who has any kind of regret, buyer's remorse on their opinion
on Kevin?
About Kevin? Because now he's going somewhere that already looks like better offensive line, better pass catchers, much better running back than anything we've got going on right now. And there are people starting to say, wow, watch out. That could be a really good team. That could be a playoff team. And now we are sitting here debating Todd Monken or Jim Schwartz.
I don't think you're going to get a lot of people regretting Kevin. I think you're going to get a lot of people regretting Andrew still being here. That it should have been both, not just one. Big thanks to Zack Jackson, who joined us. He was excellent. I mean, fantastic at 9 o'clock. Go back and listen to that, 923thefan.com. We're back tomorrow, 6 to 10. Do we have a coach by the show starting tomorrow? The start of the show tomorrow?
Yeah, probably.
Boy, you really hung them out there.
Well,
they come to us for strong opinion.
How would anybody have any you heard Zach. Zach was just like, nobody knows around the NFL what the hell the Browns are doing.
And you guys all wanted to do a coaching search. Here we are. And you guys wonder why we don't like guys getting fired. Is there no better example? Play this into the sun as long as I live and then far after. This is why I don't like to call for people to be fired. This segment right here, this show right here, this whole feeling, your feeling at home, this is why I don't like firing people. Podcast, 10:15 Eastern. You're paid to win, not save your sport. I'll explain. 10:15 Eastern, 92.3 The Fan Extra on the free Odyssey app. Take care. Hey, sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.